And hello, and welcome to Politically Incorrect Knitters. We are totally professional and not in any ways technically challenged.
Or late.
Or late. Very, very punctual are we. My name is Ann Pinkava, joined as always by the lovely Deplorable Knitter.
Hi, guys.
And the rest of our all-star panel, we have Chicken Lady Fiber Arts, You Knitted Kingdom.
That's me.
And Tina from Awenydd Yarn and Fiber.
The laziest yarn dyer in the whole world.
There you go.
At least you can admit it. I mean,
Admitting it is the first step.
Thank you for taking that on.
It's a 12-step process.
First, you sit there and say, if there's any white yarn left at all, I must be doing something wrong.
Clearly, white is not a color and it's not acceptable. Nobody could ever possibly intentionally leave any white on their yarn. I'm looking at you, Chicken Lady. I saw that.
I know. I've got a whole skein that's mostly white. Holy cow.
Well, why are we surrounded by shoddy people? That's what I want to know.
Shoddy instead of shoddy. Yes.
Yeah, what is shotty? What does shotty mean?
It's
I don't know.
It's weed.
Past tense of shit.
We've gone there so soon this time.
Normally they say, don't say anything within the first 5 minutes. Keep it monetized. Come on.
Keep it monetized. Oh, Sandra asked in the chat, is this delay normal? Absolutely.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
It's a lot of people to gather together, We gotta make sure we got them all. So
It's 2 in theory, not in practice.
Oh, maybe they think the white yarn is racist.
that could be it.
Now you know.
Yep, both Katie and Sandra came up with that one, so therefore, that seems accurate.
That's a quorum.
Speaking of racist, what does everyone think of the Little Mermaid? Is it the Little Mermaid? What's it?
Yeah.
Any opinions on that?
What happened? I missed it.
Well, she's now a black woman, isn't she? So instead of a little girl with ginger hair, she's now a fully grown black woman.
Yes.
I don't know that she's got legs though. That's
No, she's still a mermaid. So.
She is, right.
Okay.
At least they haven't changed that. I don't care personally. I mean, I think always in the story she's been a redhead, but I'm not personally offended by her being black.
Well, also the Dutch origins of of the fairy tale, that is where the story comes from. If it's okay, this is a story about a mermaid, I'd be like, cool, you can have a story about a mermaid of anyone. But
Right.
it's so I guess the Dutch don't matter. Bummer for you.
Murder Knits wants to know who's playing Ursula. That is a good question.
I can suggest somebody. She's not really an actress, though.
Couldn't we all?
I was going to volunteer Neil for it. I mean, if we're going, he
For
is
Ursula.
a black female as it is. So, I mean,
Oh yeah.
it
That is
would
true.
work.
Well, one of
You
the
can unidentify at any point, though. I don't think there's a penalty.
one of the arguments against having the Black Mermaid is that if it was real, and obviously it isn't real, the melanin wouldn't have got so far down through the water, for the sun. So, but apparently that's racist to think that.
I think that's a very scientific and interesting objection, actually. That is worth thinking about.
Well, really, they should be fish coloured, shouldn't they? So whatever fish colour is, which is all different things, isn't it?
Exactly. Fish are every color.
Melissa McCarthy is going to be Ursula, which I
she
find
is
surprising.
Who's that? I don't know who that is.
You don't know who Melissa McCarthy is?
I'm no good with names. I know faces, but not names.
She's in everything.
She's a funny fat chick in a whole bunch of movies.
Is she like the token fat chick then? Is that
No,
it?
she was in Bridesmaids. She was the token fat chick in Bridesmaids, but then she was in
Should I have seen Bridesmaids?
No.
Are
Is
we going to
that
go
like
there
the
again?
Molly?
You didn't see Princess Bride for years because you're like, I don't know, it sounds like a chick movie. Princess Bride, Bride, Princess, not so
So
into
is
it.
Bridesmaids like an action movie then in space? Is that?
No, it's really a movie about
No,
bridesmaids.
Bridesmaids.
okay.
Is a
She was
spy
in
thriller.
Tammy.
They're assassins.
Tammy? What's the...
Yes.
Never even
that was-
heard of that.
She was
Don't
in
forget,
the
I'm in
girl
a different country,
version.
so...
She was in the girl version of Ghostbusters.
well, I never saw
Oh, that
that.
was terrible.
She was in Gilmore Girls, my favorite show of all time, even though they're
Nope.
liberals.
Never seen it.
Oh, you're
Sorry.
killing me. Y'all are killing me.
Is she
That's
on
why I don't
Mike
know who
and
she is,
Molly?
clearly.
She was Molly on Mike and Molly. I think
Okay.
Molly. I never watched it, but yeah.
You'd probably recognize her face if you saw her. You probably saw her once or twice somewhere, but
Yeah, she's in a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
maybe.
Um,
So she's Ursula, whoever she is.
mhm.
Mhm.
So is she going to make a good Ursula, do you think, or is it just because she's
Yes.
fat?
No, she's very funny.
She's really good.
Ah.
Okay,
Is she black as well, or is she white?
She's white. So
Oh,
somebody in the comments
okay.
said, "Oh, so the villain's going to be a white chick, and the mermaid's going to be a black chick." Go figure.
Well, that
Um,
has to be the way now, doesn't it? And also, have you
Yeah.
noticed that villains are usually English? In American movies, they're almost always English.
yeah, we know what you're like. We know you.
Yeah.
That's why we broke up
and
with you.
also, it kind of does. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Birdie's here.
Ah,
Pretty
Hi,
Hi,
guys.
Birdie.
Hey, Birdie.
I'm really sorry that I was late.
Oh, no
Oh, I'm
worries.
so happy you're here, Birdie.
We
see
were
how
late.
polite we are, us Brits.
How you
Brits are
doing?
awful. Oh, hey, Birdie, how's it going?
But somebody in the comments was saying, the race swaps are annoying when it's used to virtue signal, and I think that's why people are pissed off about this. If you just do it because you're making a movie and you got an actress who want to play the part, super duper. But it's when you're deciding that she needs to be black because, they're checking boxes. That's when it's annoying, and that's when people find it, But that could be wrong.
When they're making a point about the race versus just having the race.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Exactly.
my argument against it generally, I don't care about what's the mermaid called. Is it Ariel or something, or Ariel?
Mhm.
I've got no interest in that because I've never even seen it. But my thing is superheroes. So if they change a
watch Little
superhero, that
Mermaid.
annoys me because I've invested time and years reading those stories, and it's like a slap in the face, and they're changing continuity and ignoring that you've read or watched all those years, So things like Nick Fury is now a black man, and he's not a black man.
Yeah, I saw you saying that on Instagram. But Lisa here's got a good point. They're redoing Snow White with a non-white actress, and I think they've missed the point of that. Just
Is that
saying.
real? Is that a real thing that's happening?
I guess so. I haven't heard that one personally, but
Fucking hell.
I believe Lisa. Why would she lie to me, right?
Yeah, I suppose so.
YouTube comments have never lied ever.
Not our commenters, maybe other people's. But
That's
That's
crazy.
not true. Comments.
Murder Knits, I loved Brandy in Cinderella also. The Rodgers and Hammerstein version of Cinderella is my absolute favorite.
See,
I don't
seen
like
either
the
one.
Disney.
okay,
I know.
No, I enjoyed that one. I thought it was hilarious though that the prince was Polynesian, but his mom was like Whoopi Goldberg and
Yes.
his dad was Asian. And I'm like, that just doesn't work. I'm
is
sorry.
that how this works?
Yeah,
Birdie,
apparently.
you'll know about this. They know nothing until they've been to a pantomime, and the principal boy is a girl, and all of the women are men. Do you know about
Yeah.
this? So if you see a pantomime and you went to see Cinderella, Cinderella would be a girl, but the prince would be a girl. Is that right? I think that's right, isn't it? Because the prince would be a principal boy, wouldn't he? Which is a girl.
Usually, like in a pantomime, like the fairy godmother is a man or something.
Yeah, it's odd. I think it goes back to Shakespeare days, because in Shakespeare time, women weren't allowed to act. So if you had actors on stage, the women had to be played by boys.
Yeah, because women rubbish.
Well, that's part of the history of kabuki theater, which is I don't know. There's a book by Fabian Bowers called Japanese Theater. It's really good. He's just a good author. But he was talking about the history, and it used to be all young, attractive women would play all of the parts. But then the women were for sale after the show, and the government went, no, can't do that. And they're like, oh, we'll do young men. Same thing happened. Government had all sorts of issues with that as well. So they're like, no, older men. All of the actors are older men, women, everybody. That's all you get. And
See, I didn't even know that, so that's quite interesting.
yep.
Yeah, I they're for sale after the show. That's really seriously disturbing.
Yeah, Japan. It's the land of wonders.
Here again. Your nerd is showing again.
Yeah. Sometimes you need to know. All of that to say, live action Cinderella 2015 is the best, and you can fight me.
Which one's that? With the beautiful gown. Yes, that one was a good one. I just remember her dress.
It is really, that was the only live action worth doing. Like the only one that actually added to the story versus just being weird CGI fest. So
I've got a question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is if I just come on to the episode where everyone's knitting?
yes, you have.
Could somebody show me how to knit, please? I've got my knitting thing here, look. And you did some for me. So
You're doing
you did well there.
I studied it, and I was like, how is this done? Oh shit, I just dropped it. Oh no, it's unraveling. Hang on a minute, guys.
Birdie.
I love you, Birdie. I absolutely
got it.
love you. Yeah.
So I keep it on this one. I don't take it off this one, do I?
Well,
I don't.
you
I
could
was
put it
going
on
to try
the
and
other
take it
needle
off
if you
and
want.
then.
Because
Where's your other needle? You have it, right?
yeah, because what I did, I knitted it on double pointed needles, and then I sent Birdie some long needles as well because I thought she'd be able to slide it on. But so she's now got 2 pairs of needles, and I think you'll be all right with the double pointed needles. I think
This
I
one.
put a bit of elastic band around that so that the stitches wouldn't fall off.
Oh, that's what it's for. I'm going to take that off as well. It's like, what?
Well, you can take it off. It was just in case in the post if they came off in the post.
So for people that are just watching, what has happened here is that Neil sent Birdie some knitting so that she could try to get on the leaderboard, but this is her first time. So I'm not sure that we'll test her today. I think we should give her an opportunity to try first.
Well,
I was going to try by myself, but I thought I'd ask the experts. And then I forgot that you guys were doing this. And when you said, are you available on Tuesday? I just said yes. And then I didn't even know what we were doing. So at the last minute, I grabbed this and I was like, just in case they're knitting. And then I thought I need to ask them how to do it.
Okay, how do we do this then? Because everyone's knitting is going to be the wrong way around, isn't it?
Yeah.
I haven't got any
Is
knitting
it
with
a
me.
left-handed, right-handed thing, or does it not matter?
Are you right-handed?
Yeah. Well, I used to be both, but I had to pick, and I picked right. I'm one of those kids.
The needle that's got the knitting on it will be in your left hand. That's it. Yeah. And then the needle with nothing on it will be in your right hand. Yeah, just the one. You don't need both.
Oh, so I don't use them like chopsticks.
No.
No, not today.
Oh. At least.
Okay, so how? Anybody else want to have a go? I'm not quite sure how to start her off here.
You take your needle in your right hand, and you put it in the loop in the front of your work. There's a little loop right here. See, my knitting's on small needles today, which is not like me.
Is it
in the very
loop?
Yep. Ah, I just dropped all my stuff. Who's got bigger knitting? Anybody?
No, not that one. It's the one that's actually on the needle. So you see that
I don't
first
see what she's
loop
pointing
on
at.
the needle.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Perfect.
hang on. Which way around?
You,
she's doing a pearl there, isn't she? I think.
yeah, she's got her needle in wrong. So you want to go in.
What?
You want to take your. I can't do it. My needles aren't big enough.
How can I put it in wrong? This is crazy.
So when you put it in,
Okay, look at
put it in. How do I do it? Like the front, like this?
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that's it.
And then you
You
want
put
it to
it
go
in.
in the back.
Yeah, you put it in so that your right needle goes, the loop goes to the right side of your needle through to the back.
Yeah.
Does that make
Oh my
sense?
god, this is hilarious. Yeah. So you
Right.
stick it in.
The complete opposite. So do it the opposite way round. So do it from the other. Yeah.
Yep, that way.
That's it.
So you stuck it in,
Yes, that's it.
and now you're going to wrap the yarn around.
Wait, your needle needs to be in the back of the your right hand needle should
all
be
the way
in
in.
We've got some snarky comments going on.
Please don't have a go at me. I'm innocent.
No, I suggest
It's
Birdie
okay.
go
It's
to
us,
YouTube,
it's not you.
just
Yeah.
not this channel because we're
I
not doing a
agree.
very good job.
Brilliant.
Stab the hole, wrap the neck.
And pull
Okay, I
through.
wrapped
hang
the
on.
neck. Now you got to scoop out the guts,
Yeah.
and then
Birdie?
you throw them off the cliff. Okay, go
Birdie,
to
we'll-
YouTube.
We're gonna
What-
send you.
What is going on? Hang on.
So sorry.
honestly.
This is hilarious.
So I'm wrapping it,
Vicky, we're laughing with you. You are not wrong to laugh.
wrap it round.
Yeah.
Where does it go next? So it goes round, and
So-
then
To jump in, you don't need as much needle through as you currently have.
Yeah. You want
So
to
you
have a
can-
little bit.
why is
Dude.
the needle so big if you don't need it that big?
It's to
Because it'll
hold
hold
the
your
stitches later.
stitches.
But you're only working with the top like inch of your needle. So you can go ahead and push it back.
Yeah.
That big?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And it's round, so I put it round the needle,
Yeah.
and then
And you kind of pull it
Okay, round the needle that you used to stab through.
Wait, she's got her needles messed up though. You gotta have your right hand needle needs to be in the back of your left hand needle.
So
when you put it through the stitch here, I don't know if you can see, you go to the left of the stitch on the needle and it goes behind the left hand
Yes.
needle. So it looks like that.
so I got to put it behind the needle.
No. Your right hand needle needs to go behind the left hand needle. Let me see if I can.
But the needle's got, it's not in my right hand anymore. It's in this hand because I was trying to get this bit over it.
All right.
So this is what I'm gonna say. Hey, how about this? Maybe a circular needle would be easier for her.
I'm
Perhaps.
actually sweating.
First,
This is
first off,
actually more
the lady-
intense than
the lady who
kickboxing.
taught me to knit will say right now you should relax your shoulders because you don't want to
That's
hurt
what they say
yourself
to me in
too much.
kickboxing. They
There
say
you
the same thing.
Okay.
All right.
It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be good.
Okay,
At
let's
some
start.
point,
Let's start
one of us
again
will
because
be
I'm.
helpful.
Hang on, I think I've got something. Look. What is that? Is that a knit? A loop?
It almost is.
It could be.
It's the trickiest bit now, though. She's got to catch that loop and pull it through the other loop.
Oh no,
Number
I
eight.
undone it. Fucking hell.
And we're not laughing at you by any means. It's just funny.
I'll probably look stupid doing this anyway.
No,
It's adorable. I love it.
Right.
I don't think
catch
anybody
the
looks
loop.
cool knitting, just so you know. So there's
Do you
that.
reckon?
we have all been exactly where you were.
Yes. The first time I tried to learn how to knit, I couldn't understand why it wasn't getting bigger. And so finally I went to my aunt and I was
That's
like,
what
what
she
am I doing wrong?
Sorry.
and she watches me for a bit and she goes, oh, you're just slipping the stitches. You're not actually like knitting.
Just moving them back and forth.
We
Been there,
need to
done
be able
that.
to film one of us, just our hands showing really slowly, don't we?
Well,
But
what we need
the
to
other way
do
around.
is, even though Very Pink Knits hates us, all of her knitting tutorials are awesome, and we just need to send her a Very Pink knitting tutorial.
Wait,
and
she hates
she'll be good.
us?
Why does she hate you?
I'm pretty sure that she's a liberal.
She does, and she
Yeah.
is.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that's
When-
all. Just she doesn't like the conservative knitters, but whatever.
She has excellent.
I
she
still
has
use her videos because they're good.
Yeah.
Whatever. She can hate me all she wants.
I just learned how to do Portuguese knitting this past
Ah.
weekend.
Yeah.
I like
Excellent.
it.
And apparently I was wrong when I said that we all look dumb knitting because Murder Knit says she looks fierce as hell when she knits. So
I
whatever.
was about to say, like, if your name has murder in it, you probably are fierce all the time.
Mhm. All the time.
Okay, I'm going to start my loop the loop again. That's what it's called, isn't it? Loop the loop.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Every time.
Got the knitting lingo. Got everything. Oh, hang on. Shit, that's wrong. That way.
Oh,
Yeah,
apparently
that way,
Expression Fiber Arts is even better.
Now, the grey needle needs to go underneath your wooden needle. So when you put it through the loop, that's it. Now wrap it round the grey needle. Which
Only.
direction does she do it? From the back to the front?
Back to front, yeah.
Yep.
So from the back, wrap it round just the grey needle, not the brown needle. I think you went from the front to the back there. That's it. Yeah, I think. Is that look
Yeah,
right?
That looks
Now
right.
that, oh, don't keep wrapping. You only wrap it once.
Okay.
Now that loop that you've just wrapped around, that is the one that you need to try and get through the loop that's on the brown needle. So can you see you've got two loops now? You've got one on your wooden needle and one on your grey needle. Can you see two loops?
I think so.
I think
Go on, Anne.
No, this is me. This is my emotional support hand pad. You're doing good.
you are doing good. I was just sitting here listening to Neil coach her, and I was thinking, Neil, I could probably listen to a tutorial of you doing anything because it's very calm. Like I feel very at ease while we're trying to.
Years of teaching experience, so.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's
Yeah,
true.
when you're teaching a group of teenagers bouncing off the ceiling, you get quite good at being calm, even when you're not.
So have I got to, sorry to interrupt, have I got to get it in this loop?
Yes.
Oh, no, hang on, I'm pulling it all apart. Oh, bollocks. Sorry.
We will
Okay,
get one
what-
I
stitch.
didn't
We
mean to
will.
swear. I'm
What
trying to
does
cut down on
you're
the swearing.
fine.
mean? What does bollocks mean? I've seen it, and
Testicles.
Yeah.
oh,
Balls.
okay.
However, it's also something to do with monks, which is how Nevermind the Bollocks was allowed to be published by, what were they called, Birdie? The punk band? I forgot the name. Sex Pistols, that's it. Yeah, because they had an album called Nevermind the Bollocks in the 70s, which wasn't allowed. And they took it to court and proved that it was a monk's habit or something. And they got away with it.
Nice.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Oh, and
All
just
right.
so you guys know,
Uh-huh.
it's
Oh.
okay to swear when you knit. So there you
All
go.
the time.
We're not the only ones.
I, would
So
like
this-
to- I just want to jump in really quick and say for the record, Sid Vicious is like apparently very conservative now.
Oh, cool.
That's because he's dead.
All right, not Sid Vicious, one of the other guys.
Oh,
Johnny
Lydon.
Rotten.
John Lydon.
Listen,
No.
yes, John Lydon.
Normally people go more liberal when they die, especially in
True.
Detroit. But
Ah, yes.
I need more coffee.
Do dead Brits vote Democrat as well? Is that how it works? Or is it just dead Americans that vote Democrat?
I
Just
don't
dead
know.
Americans.
Ah.
Yeah, when I die, don't let me vote Democrat.
True story.
Are you all right there, Birdie?
Yeah, I'm stuck on the puzzle.
Okay, so
all right.
hold it up again for us. Let's see. Right, you see on your right hand, on the
Yeah.
not your right hand, on the right hand part of your grey needle,
Yeah.
that loop that almost came off then,
Yeah.
that loop has to go through the loop that's directly to the left of it.
That's not going to happen. It's impossible.
Well, you've got 2 loops there, so okay. We're gonna have to rearrange your needles too. I think you should just like start over.
Here.
Just, like,
So I
It
think I
feels
can
like a
flip my
puzzle.
camera down so you can see my hands, but I apologize to everyone for this live broadcast and this really shoddy camera work. So that's shoddy with 2 Ds. Just want to
Thank
say,
you.
not the T person. Okay, so I apologize for this. So look, it's you guys again. Hopefully I can get this to balance. Come on. No, it's falling. Oh, crud. I'm gonna have to think this through.
Okay.
Are we allowed to put one of What's Her Face's videos on here, or is that would that be a copyright issue?
She would complain about it.
Yeah, she probably would.
Okay.
Whoever What's Her Face is.
Oh, very pink knits.
Oh, yeah.
No, we don't. We don't have any money to pay a copyright anything, so
I don't want to cause any beef in the knitting community.
Thank you.
I've heard you guys are
appreciate that.
vicious.
we got plenty of that already.
We have needles.
The cows. Yeah, we got plenty of beef here.
So I have a question. Do I know BS on Instagram? Do I know you?
Oh, BS is one of us. So she is the graphic designer for Block Magazine.
Oh, okay. So my husband's last name or my husband's first name starts with S, and I always say my life BS, meaning before him. You know, before S came in my life, and my life was gonna BS before I met him. So yeah.
BS is saying, "Can I post a link?" I'm not sure to what.
I don't see why not, because we're not gonna put it in the stream.
Yes.
It's in the comments, so whatever. And somebody said, "Turn up." Somebody said, "Stand up, turn around, and put your hands in front of the camera so that they can be seen."
Oh, it's your initials. Okay.
I
Thank you,
can,
BS.
but then I won't be able to see you. So we can play this game. This will be a terrible game. This will be worse. Here.
Knitting gymnastics.
Okay. Hang on. Because also what I'm knitting on is complicated, so it's going to be like difficult to play with. Anyways. All right, How to Knit by Anne, the worst tutorial. Okay, so welcome Knitting Needles. Here we go. So what you do, you have your 2 knitting needles right here. There's the front of the stitch right here. Yes?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Can you see it, Birdie?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. So you have the front of the stitch right here, and you're stabbing through to the back. You're taking your yarn. I hold it in my left hand, and you're putting it over your stitch. You're pulling that through, and then the original loop you're pulling off. So,
Okay.
all right. So again, we got stitch, stabbing, front to back, flipping that around, your yarn around that needle again.
Nope, I got it stuck.
Okay.
It's stuck.
It doesn't help that Anne is continental.
I think I tied a knot on it
We're doing.
by accident.
Okay.
Okay.
I was copying exactly what you did as well.
Okay.
Hang on.
Now show how to do it as a thrower. Do you throw, Anne, or no? Can you?
Kind of. Okay.
It might be easier.
Okay, so that. Sorry.
Can you lift your
can't-
hands up a little bit, Anne?
Oh, I'm
That's
sorry.
There you
better.
go.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. So from the right hand instead of the left hand. I prefer left hand knitting, so I'd say go for that one, but everyone's different. Anyway, so
Thank you, Anne.
there we go. I just wanted to make sure we got the diversity in there. Okay. So we have left hand needle, right hand needle, stabbing through the front of this stitch, flipping it over and then pulling the stitch through.
You can do it.
I'll just start again.
Okay.
I thought I was going to be really good at this. I got a little bit like cocky, and I was like, "Oh, I'll go on there. They'll show me once."
To be
and
fair
it'll
though,
be fine.
Birdie, I think all of us actually had someone sat next to us when we learned. Oh no, I did. I don't know about
Yeah.
the rest of you.
I didn't
know-
actually. I actually got shown when I was probably about 6 years old. My aunt, who's a punk, she was like spiky hair and everything. She showed me her knitting, and I remember when I was like 6 years old, just thinking, "This is boring." And then, so I didn't remember it. I didn't pay any attention, and I wish I did now because obviously
who
it's going to
would've-
come in handy.
Who would ever thought you would be hanging out with a bunch of knitters later in life, right?
And
Like,
so seen later
oh
that
my
because you
gosh.
got in trouble on the internet for wrongthink, you'd be hanging out with a bunch of conservative knitters
Yeah,
and need to know this skill.
DK or Anne, I don't know who's in charge. I think BS has said that she's put a video that you're going to be able to show, I think.
Okay.
Pull up that video I posted. I'm not sure where she's posted it.
A little unclear.
The first stitch on the needle is the hardest. Yeah.
Oh, I know what video she's talking about too, because she said it's super funny. I don't see a link. Sorry. Oop.
Okay, that's okay.
Anyway,
Anyway,
Well-
so
Birdie looks like she's doing good now.
you shouldn't have said that. It all come undone.
somebody said slip the first stitch and then try it with the second. I don't know if that'll help. I don't know.
Well, slipping the first stitch does count as a stitch, doesn't it?
Yes.
So that would be one stitch. So at least she gets on the leaderboard.
There you
She
go.
can still be on the leaderboard. But Neil, I know you wanted to talk about the hobby yarn thing.
Ah, yes. Ooh, where do we start with that? Because there's two aspects to this, isn't there? Yeah, so hobby, I think, is it hobby or hobby I? Hobby? It's
I always
H-O-
thought it was hobby.
Yeah, HOBBI, isn't it? And I think, where are they? I forget. Denmark, I think they're from, aren't they?
Mhm.
And I've ordered them from them quite a few times, so they're very good. Very, don't want to say cheap, very affordable yarns. So your acrylics and so on, but you can get your,
Here, one
decent
second.
wool.
To pause you, Neil. Birdie, do you want me to like show it again while he's talking?
If you want, I mean, I'm happy to listen and learn.
It's okay. No, I just wanted to make sure because you have the expression of ah! So I want to make sure that you
I can't help what my face does.
I just want to make sure that we're not leaving you in the weeds while we're talking about this.
Yeah, put it
It's
down
all right,
if you
I'll
want,
shout for
Birdie,
help.
for a bit.
We're going to send you a knitting video. Somebody who's more qualified to teach than we are. I don't even teach beginning knitting at my knitting classes, so there you go.
But you're knitters. I thought you would teach
I
me.
tell you what, Birdie, if you want, maybe not tomorrow, but the day after, we could do another video if you want, and I'll show you how to do it. I'll get
Yes.
prepared, and I'll have
That'd
the
be
camera in
brilliant.
the right place and stuff.
I'll practice from now until then.
Yes. I'll send you a video.
Just practice
Okay.
holding the needles.
I am. Look.
Yeah.
Yes, much better. It's the
Yeah, so-
first step.
Hobby Yarn in Denmark, they did a really daft video where it was about where to hide your yarn from your significant other. So they didn't say husband, I think they said partner, I think. And it was obviously a joke because they had toilet rolls in a basket, and if you lifted a toilet roll, there was yarn underneath it. There was in the boot of the car, or the trunk of the car, as you would say. I can't even remember the others now. It was completely innocent. And Hey J Yarns, my friend Hey J Yarns, she did a video, and basically saying how problematic it was with this like awful face, like how could they say this, you know, and about how it was what's the word, abuse, and it was spousal abuse and all this nonsense. And basically she won.
Yeah.
She bullied them into taking that video down. So I shared with them something that a company called Beyond Yarn did about 3 years ago. So it is old, but it's still there on the first page of their Instagram. And they had a sign outside their shop that said, your husband said it was okay for you to buy yarn here, or something similar. So basically it's exactly the same thing, except it is specifying a gender role. So it's saying the husband is in charge. And I shared it and said, well, what about this? But because Beyond Yarn is a black owned business, nobody will say anything about it at all. So that is still there. And it's like, well, why aren't you piling on her? You know, it's a sexist either way. In fact, it is sexist because they're saying husband, whereas Hobby didn't even say that. They said spouse or partner. So, and that's the story.
They even said in a rebuttal, somebody said, and by the way, hi, Kieran. Kieran's in the chat from Woke Screen. They said in a rebuttal, it was gender neutral, so patriarchy isn't even an issue here. And of course, you know, that still wasn't good enough. So,
well, it's never good enough until people, you know, bow to them and cave in. But why does Hey Jane Yarn care? Like, it's not. I don't get it.
Well, she's like uber woke, and the thing about her is she lives in a place called Oxford. And she lives in a very posh part of Oxford.
Oh, this is in England, yeah.
Yeah. And I did a bit of research to find out about, she lives in, I won't say the village that she lives in because they'll say I'm doxing her, but I did a bit of research on that village, and it's something like 98% white. So there are no ethnic minorities there. I think from what I could find out, the only ethnic minorities that are there are Indian, and they'll be the local Indian takeaway. You know, or the doctor, you know, that's what it's going to be. And I think with people like her, she's very posh. She talks like she's gone to public school, which in England means that it's been paid for, you know, someone who's paid for their education. And
Queen's
I think
English.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She doesn't talk like us, does she? That's the thing.
Nope.
And she's definitely trying to make up for something, I think. She's making up for
Feels
the fact
guilty.
that she is privileged. She does have white privilege. Whereas people like myself and Birdie, I know from our accents. I don't know
Hey,
about
I'm
you
privileged.
guys.
I'm white, and I.
Well, you're probably more privileged than me coming from Manchester. And where are you from? Basildon? Is it Basildon you're from?
Yeah, Pitsy. It's the arsehole of Basildon.
So Birdie and I are like at the bottom of the rung when it comes to being privileged, basically. Whereas people like Hey J Yarns is nearer the top.
isn't she the one that I think I saw a picture of her like topless, and she had her yarn draped around her boobs?
That's the one. Yeah, that's her.
Why? Excuse me.
why?
If I ever get yarn that has touched the dyer's boobs, I want a refund. There's no reason for that.
I am never topless, I promise, when I dye.
Chicken Lady's awfully quiet up there.
I'm just saying, you do not want that water splashing on your sensitive bits. No.
Can I just say, if you want the yarn to touch my boobs, you have to pay extra. So,
That's right.
You know, you can put that in a note to seller at the checkout. And
I will do extra rubs for you too. Yeah.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if there was a like an alternative to OnlyFans called Only Yarn?
Oh,
Chicken.
well, there's a guy
Okay.
dyer called Sultan Knits, I think, or Sultan Dye Yarn, and he had pictures of himself, and he's a very hairy guy, and he was in the bath, looked like he was naked, but he was covered in yarn in his bath. And it's like, how much of that went to people that bought it? Because the thing is, it's like, it would have had his chest hair in it. If he was naked underneath, it would have had his pubic hair in it. You know, it's like.
Kieran wants to know if that's why yours are patchy, Tina.
To steal a comment from somebody else, the dyes barely touch that yarn.
And Murdered says she knows Sultan dyes yarn because he's friends with Yelly. So there you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's how I
not
found out about
X-rated?
him, actually.
And then here, this sums it up for everybody. There you go. Please
Yes.
don't. Oh, the thunder's coming in.
Oh, is that you?
That was me. It was Big Thunder.
Wow.
I have to shut the window.
Crikey.
Somebody said don't give Gwyneth Paltrow any ideas.
Oh,
So anyway,
Well, speaking of her candle, this is knitting related. So do you all know what I'm talking
Keep it
about when I
together,
say
Neil.
that.
I'm just saying that before whatever
don't.
comes out of your mouth. You're crying.
You know, our other friend, Fleecing the Disturbed, she recently got herself into a bit of trouble. And it was quite interesting to watch. She had
Wow.
to do a huge backtrack because she's created some badges. So this, you might be interested in this, Birdie, which just say vaginas everywhere. And loads of people went a bit crazy because they were saying that she was being transphobic because not just women
wrong kind
have
of vaginas.
vaginas.
Wrong
And she had to
vaginas.
apologize.
I forgot about those male vaginas. I mean, there are some, but
gross.
sorry. I think my mother-in-law is watching this. I apologize. I am sorry.
I can't believe we've gone here so soon. Normally it takes us an hour, doesn't it, at least?
I think I
Oh, she's
made
gone.
a knot of some
Oh.
sort. What have I done wrong?
That does look a bit like a knot. Maybe
Dude.
put it down and we'll look at that next time we do it, I think.
Do
I
the
can
two
untie
of
it.
you, do you live close to one another?
No. I'm
Okay.
in the north. Well, when it's probably about 5 hours away, which to us in the UK
Okay.
it may as well be
Right.
a week away.
Different
you know what
country.
I mean? Yeah, we
Right.
don't.
Are you Manchester?
Yeah. Well, you were
I
in
was
Manchester.
just there a couple of days ago.
Yeah, I could have met you and taught you to knit.
Come
You
on,
should have
Bernie.
told me when I didn't tell anybody I was going to Manchester. You should have just known, and you should have told me.
You were
like, hang
literally
on.
2 miles away. We could have
Was
walked.
I would have walked. Yeah, I would have walked. I went all that way to see Jordan Peterson.
Did you get to see him, or did they
How
stop the
was
show
it?
because
Yeah,
of
I
the
got
Queen
to see
dying?
him. It was absolutely brilliant. It was somebody actually was very kind and gave me her tickets because she couldn't make it. So I took a last minute trip up there, and yeah, it was brilliant. Absolutely loved it.
Any words
Yeah,
of
it was
wisdom
really
from
good.
Jordan?
And it was on the day the Queen died as well, and we didn't know until about 1 minute before we sat down, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is massive! This is like huge! It's like end of an era stuff." I don't know how everybody here feels about the Queen, but like I've never really had a beef with her or anything, so I wish I'd taken a bit more of an interest because I think she was quite interesting. But yeah, it was really good because Jordan Peterson's wife Tammy came out. And she spoke about the Queen a little bit, and then he came out and spoke about, you know, the monarchy and what it represents and how cool it is that we still keep it. And then he did I thought he was going to come out and just do a speech, but he didn't. He did a Q&A, so we all got to type in our questions before we got in the room, and then he chose a few questions and answered them, and it was brilliant. I'm sorry if I sound a bit weird. I think I'm getting a cold or something. Hopefully not COVID. I've
Oh my
already
God,
had
we're
it
going to
anyway,
catch
so-
it. I almost had a COVID row today. I had to go to hospital for just a general thing, and the receptionist said that I had to put a mask on and shoved this mask in my face. So I just picked it up, took it and just walked away. But all of the staff had their masks on under their nose, and when I realised, I thought, well, bugger that, I'm not putting a mask on.
Pointless.
If you can't put it on properly, I'm not going to bother. But then when I actually got to see the doctor, he didn't care, so I was all right. He was just the receptionist, I think.
You might as well use it as pants or something if you're going to put it under your nose.
Yeah.
When you
Murdernet
said booger that, does that mean F that?
Kind of.
Pretty much.
But it's kind of a bit old-fashioned, actually, isn't it? It's an old-fashioned.
Yeah.
You can get away with it a little bit more.
So when
It
you
is
say
still naughty though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to say it in school.
okay, because I've always heard like bugger off. That's like telling somebody to Okay.
Well, it got changed. People started to say beggar off.
Or
So,
sod
'cause-
that and sod off.
Yeah.
They say sod.
Sod. Okay. Okay. So, how do you feel about the Queen passing, Neil?
It's funny because I'm not a royalist at all, and
Yeah, me
I wouldn't be bothered if they got rid of the royal family. However, on the day, I was actually quite sad. I was quite surprised that I did feel sad, and I think it's because, like, literally our entire lives, you know, if you're under the age of 70, you have known the Queen in the background always, and it's the only thing in the country that is kind of constant. So there's like this feeling of uncertainty now.
Yeah.
It's not a big feeling in me because I'm a bit like, oh, well, whatever. But there's just this like, you know, it just nothing seems to be quite the same. But
yeah, it's definitely end of an era stuff, you know.
And people are going crazy, especially in London. I mean, they're going batshit crazy, like they did with Diana. You know, when she died. Yeah.
Well, we went to Buckingham Palace on the way back the day after as well. And we stopped there and it was like packed full of people. And there were people, I thought this was a bit weird. There were people like walking around with like pints, just walking out the pub, walking with their pint and walking around Buckingham Palace. And I was just like, are you allowed to do that? I don't know. I suppose all the rules are out the window at the moment. You know, it's sort of,
well, it's brought up an interesting debate, hasn't it, about freedom of speech, because a few people have been arrested for shouting either abuse at the coffin or abuse at the other royals or holding up a sign. And the thing is, it's like they shouldn't be arrested. They should just be asked, you know, maybe to move along. But the thing is, that is freedom of speech, isn't it? And freedom to protest. It's just not particularly, or what's the word, sensitive at a time like that. But they shouldn't get arrested for it, you know, because one guy was arrested.
Yeah, I don't think they should get arrested for it, but I do think they're hypocrites because they're okay with people getting arrested for like misgendering or whatever on the internet. But then
it's
they
usually
want
the
the
same,
right
isn't
to
it? Same
be.
people.
Yeah, they want the right to essentially do what, you know, like Westboro Baptist Church do at picketing funerals and stuff. They want the right to do that. I think it's disgusting, but it's not a crime. It's not a crime in the UK as far as I'm aware. So they have the right to do that, but they should, if they're going to cry about freedom of speech, they should not be hypocrites about it.
Do you have the same freedom of speech that we have in America?
No. Oh, absolutely not. No.
But people like to pretend we do, don't they?
Yeah. Well, we used to have what was it called? Is it the Magna Carta? I forget now. And the Magna Carta originally protected our rights, but now it doesn't. I think almost every point in the Magna Carta has been, I forget what the word is now. There's a word where a new law comes in that then kind of supersedes it. So there's nothing now in the Magna Carta that actually protects our rights at all. Okay. So we don't have freedom of speech anymore.
Law made void by tradition.
Oh
yes.
Wait, was Anne speaking? There was like this voiceless, this faceless voice.
Sorry. Sorry, is your camera off on purpose?
My camera is off on purpose. Sorry.
Okay.
But you're sorry, voiceless speaking. But no, that is sorry. That is a line in the Bible. A line. Jesus said that in the Bible, that the Pharisees have and publicans and the Pharisees, the lawyers and the Pharisees, I guess, have taken the Old Testament law and then voided it by tradition. So there you go. Anyways, sorry.
So in terms of our freedom of speech, so now Birdy's here, we could do this. So say if me and Birdy were talking and one of us upset the other one and said something just slightly dodgy that could be misinterpreted, one of us could complain to the police and say that we were offended by the other, and they would go and talk to whichever of us had offended the other one. You know, they probably wouldn't arrest us, but they could if we resisted, you know, having a chat with them. They wouldn't do that to you guys because obviously you're protected by your is it the First Amendment you have? Yep.
Yes.
And you've got your Second Amendment in your back pocket, so you can
Right. In
scare
case
them
the
off.
first one doesn't work. Right.
Right.
Okay.
Well, some of us have the Second Amendment. Some of us have it in theory, but not in practice.
How does that work?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
know.
like a state thing?
It's a state thing, but it's also like New York City here. You can't have diddly squat. Like you can.
Well,
I
it's
tried
not
to-
just New York City, Birdie. Tina, it's
Yeah, I
everywhere
know.
in New York because I'm affected too. So
Yeah.
it's not just you; it's all of New York State. Our governor decided that she made all these places like sacred, and you can't carry a gun anywhere because she's a bitch. So.
Yeah,
Sorry.
she's terrible. Governor Eyebrows.
Well, what my husband loves to say about her is, "Oh, you mean our unelected governor? Because she just got in because the other guy was so bad, and I kind of want him back. Isn't that terrible?"
Nanny Nipple Rings. It was like Nanny Nipple Rings versus Governor Eyebrows here. It's like I don't know who's worse.
Oh, is he the one whose brother was CNN
Yes.
reporter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was his name? Not Comey. Coney.
Cuomo.
Cuomo.
That's it. Yeah.
Cuomo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the nipple ring about? Why was he wearing nipple rings? Because he was, wasn't he?
They were bars. Yeah.
He apparently
Yeah.
has some
see them
pierced.
under his. You could see them under the shirt when he was giving an interview,
Mhm.
and yeah, once you
Because
see
there's
that,
nothing creepy about that at all. It's totally
I mean,
normal.
there was things like, it could be a flak jacket. No, though. It's kind of.
No,
Well,
flak
here-
jackets don't do that.
Our new prime minister has said that men have to start wearing ties again, because there was a period of time where men weren't wearing ties in Parliament, and it's like, maybe that should be the next thing. Whether you keep your nipple rings in or not.
A friend of mine tried to say, well, maybe that's a microphone. And I was like, yeah, I always wear microphones on my nipples.
On both nipples at the same
I
time.
mean-
yeah.
If you're worried about losing them, I guess, right?
ew.
Just clamp them on
Okay.
there.
So I'm going to change the topic a little bit.
Oh, good.
I don't know why.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Blocked magazine, and Neil knows Neil doesn't know the whole story, but because there's more to the story. I told Neil not to say anything because I didn't want to ruin the surprise for the recipient. But since Blocked magazine came out, we all read the story about Jen going to the yarn crawl and being rejected entrance because she wasn't wearing a mask and she didn't have her vaccination card, and she had gotten the Uber or gotten on the bus or something and gone a long way. So she came home and she wrote me a little note that said, I just used the money that I was going to use on the yarn crawl. I just spent it, with you. And I was like, oh, that was very nice. Thank you very much. So somebody, actually 2 people, emailed me and said, we want to buy gift certificates from your yarn shop to give to that nice lady, Jen.
Wow.
And it was such a nice gesture that these people don't know each other, but somebody was so touched from the article that they donated their money for a gift certificate for this girl named Jen. And I just thought that was very nice. And I had to tell that story out loud. So I'm just saying, when you stand up for what you think is right without bashing anybody else in the meantime, good things will come back to you.
And does Jen know now? Does she
Jen
know about
knows,
it?
yes, because she put an order in last night, but she doesn't know. By the way, Jen, if you're watching, you're getting another gift certificate. So from somebody else. Yeah.
Wow. Fancy stuff, man.
That's
Very
so
fancy
good.
stuff.
We're all figuring out ways where we can get these gift certificates now, aren't we?
I get a gift certificate. Well, there are some, it kind of reinforces, you wonder, if you watch the mainstream media, you're always going to wonder if there's good in the world. And that's just 2 examples of, yes, there are good people in the world. and they will reach out and pat you on the back and say, thank you for being courageous, and, you know, go spend some more money at Lynne's shop, which I appreciate. Thank you.
Carrie, identify as Jen now.
No, I'm Jen. You have to do the I'm Spartacus thing.
Je suis Jen.
Guys, have I done a loop on this? Have I done it?
No, because it should be on the other needle.
Oh, I thought
When
I
you
did,
do it,
and I don't know
It
how
goes
I did
back to the other needle.
Oh.
Oh,
we
Birdie.
We forgot to mention that part.
Yeah, but
I wonder whether crochet would be easier to learn first.
it. Crochet
it
for
depends on the
people.
people.
Ooh, half of the viewers are probably crocheters.
Am I going to get cancelled for saying that?
You've already been cancelled, so I don't think you can be cancelled
Loads
twice,
of times. I ain't scared.
So,
Just
Tina.
canceled again by the knitters.
Tina, show us some yarn.
Yeah, and tell us about if you were watching at the very, very beginning of the show, you heard about what a lazy dyer she is. So tell us a little bit about this.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to get up and go get some yarn in a minute, but so I have a colorway called Fame Whore, and it's inspired by Mike Harlow's podcasting background that he sometimes uses, and it's not really a solid. It's kind of like sponged on or spray painted or something. Sorry about my dirty looking fingers. I was dying before I came on, and I don't wear gloves. Anyway, so I did a yarn and inspired by that. And
Wait, you don't wear gloves? Do you wear a respirator?
I wear a mask when I speckle.
No, I mean a respirator.
Here's
Oh,
some Fame Whore right here.
She's got Fame Whore. Okay, so yeah,
See?
that's what
Very
Fame
nice.
Whore looks
But
like.
poor Lynne is like, your lungs, Tina. Your
Your
lungs.
lungs.
Don't
She
get my
wears a
boyfriend
mask?
any ideas. He wears
Okay.
a mask.
Go ahead.
So the whole point of this yarn is that it's supposed to be not solid. It's like more intense in some spots. It's later in other spots. I specifically, and I have a video about this, you can see on my channel, I specifically speckle the yarn so that it's not fully saturated. Well,
Can I just interrupt for 1 second before you go on?
Mhm.
Our person, Cheeky Mare here, gave us a super chat, and she wants a Ravenclaw worthy bronze yarn. So, any dyers want to accept that challenge?
I'm
Think
not
about
a
it.
Harry Potter girl, so I don't
I
know what that means.
You know what? I have a gold yarn that you ordered one time, pirate gold. DK, you ordered it once, and the dye company where I get my dye has been out of stock of that dye for over a year.
Oh.
So behind the
Someday, maybe.
scenes, we are all working to get a replication of that dye, you know, by combining other dyes, and it has been difficult. I do have a gold that's in the politically incorrect knitters colorway that I could do on a whole skein. So check out my shop, Cheeky Mare. Hey, and
Hey, right there. So, if you like that color, talk to Lynne. So, okay, I'm sorry
That's
I
a nice
interrupted your
colour.
story.
That's okay. Go ahead, Tina.
Okay, so our favorite candidate for governor of New Hampshire, Carlin Borisenko. Everybody's favorite, right? I mean,
Sorry.
Yeah, you guys
And
had beef with
also
her,
we-
didn't you?
Okay, so after last live from the Knitting Wars, I did have a couple people say like, "Hey, you probably should have done a little intro on what the issue is with her before jumping into it," because there's a little bit of confusion, and Birdie's
Yeah,
like, "Me
I
too."
don't get it.
oh man, that's all right. You want me to do like a quick Cliff Notes version of the Carlin?
Yeah,
drop?
like a 30-second wrap up of what's going on.
Okay, I can do even shorter than that.
Yes.
Okay, so Carlin, originally Democrat, went to Trump rally, wrote a really crappy article. Article went viral. She got famous. She bought bots on Twitter. So her Twitter account was like 80,000 at one point.
The article was about how she's a Trump supporter now after being a liberal.
Yes, because
and how she had
nice.
felt the sort of cancel culture thing from the knitting world that she had got that. Yes. Anyways, yes. Bots on Twitter.
So the thing is, her being a knitter, she was on Instagram knitting groups, whatever. And at first everybody's all like, woo, she's sticking it to the man. She's speaking out. Awesome. And she knits. Fantastic. She's one of us. And then it turns out her mask started slipping because she's a malignant narcissist. And then the mask totally slipped. And she came out with stuff like Hitler went to heaven and the Jews chose to die in the Holocaust. She's had
some weird semi-spiritual psychic. She sees a psychic often.
So he's on her retainer. Yeah, she's got him on retainer. She's had a targeted smear campaign against Mike Harlow, Carrie Smith, Kieran White, and Deb Philman for a couple of years now. All because they just chose to walk away from her. They were like, "Oh, mask slipped. You're fucking weird. Get away from me." And she's like, "Ah!" So,
I'd also say that she is, one of those personalities where she'll snuggle up to somebody and you're my best friend and everything is great and everything is wonderful. And she'll kind of like her writing will tend to copy other people's writing who she's close to at the time.
She's a skinwalker.
Right. That she does that and then flips, I hate you, and I'm using the personal information that you told me when we were friends and smearing it all over the internet. So
yes.
Posting other, doxing people, posting passport photos, doing all of this, sharing personal stuff. She did the Ingleside Hotel thing where she said she was thrown out for wearing a MAGA hat and she wasn't. Thrown out because she's
I think I saw that because I actually watched some of her YouTube videos like about a year and a half ago. I think I followed her on Twitter as well. But so I know who she is, but I think I saw her say something, but I've not followed what's gone on. I've not followed the drama.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's why she still has followers though, because she's very online all the freaking time. So she's on like 15 different social media platforms, like some I've never even heard of. And so she's just like all the time, blah, 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 online. And because most people don't spend their lives online, they don't see what she's doing and what she's saying all the time. And they don't see all the drama she causes. And they don't see
I've not seen it. Like, I've seen bits of it. Like, I've seen... Sorry, I interrupted. I didn't mean to. I was meant to say that in my head. I wasn't meant to say that out loud. But basically, I've seen little bits of things, and then I've just been like, because I don't understand it, I'm not going to spend my afternoon reading it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people don't get involved because they don't quite know, and they're catching bits of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But she, like Carrie Smith, is actually on our show often on Tuesdays. She's been on.
Yeah, I like Carrie Smith. She seems pretty decent as well.
Yeah, but Carlin went after her, and so it's just this woman.
And her and my friends, and
Carlin has even targeted Carrie's pastor.
Yeah.
And has been saying, well, Carrie's not a very good Christian, blah, 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 blah. Does Carrie's pastor support blah, blah, blah? And she keeps claiming that Carrie's targeting her. And meanwhile, Carrie's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, what? So...
That's the problem with social media, is that people with personalities like that get platformed, don't they? They can get like their own little army for themselves.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's the deal. That's Carlin. And so she really, really hates Tina because Tina's not scared of her. And
I just laugh at her. I mean, like, her career is a dumpster fire at this point. I feel like we're all just toasting marshmallows over it and just like burning it down, So anyway, so Liz Clothier, our dear Liz, yes, she designed a beautiful hat with my Fame Whore yarn in honor of Mikey and posted it to her Twitter. which yes, that's the yarn right there. Which I'm
Just
pretty
reminding
sure,
people.
I'm pretty sure Carlin is blocked from seeing her page. So Carlin must have used one of like her 20 sock puppet accounts, and she stole Liz's post with the hat, posted it to her Instagram, and then went on a whole tirade about you can tell that this yarn isn't dyed properly, and also the yarn doesn't work with the pattern, and blah blah blah, and this, that, and the other thing. And I was just like, oh, that's pretty ballsy of you to steal a photo from somebody. Like, Liz hasn't even released the hat pattern yet, and you're stealing this photo and you're talking shit about it on Instagram as if you know anything about yarn or designing patterns, which, spoiler alert, she doesn't. That woman does not have a creative molecule in her body. And so I was like, well, screw this. So I did a watch me work video where you can watch me dye Fame Whore, and I explain why it looks the way it looks and what the inspiration was, and I'm very clear about it. And at the end, I actually have, because I knew she would hate watch it, I have a little title at the end that says, "Thanks for watching, Carlin," something like that. So, or like, "Hi, Carlin, thanks for watching." So, of course, she watches the video, and I don't know if she watched it with the sound off or whatever. She does another post on her Instagram where she took a freeze frame of me dyeing yarn where I have a spoon in the pan, and the yarn looks obviously speckled because it's supposed to look obviously speckled. And
I think I saw this today. Did you post it on Instagram?
Yes.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was you. I think I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. She circles the speckly parts, and she's like, "This is how you can tell she did it wrong."
Yes, that's what I saw. I don't understand. What was that meant to be?
She was trying to tell people that I'm not a good yarn dyer because I intentionally left my yarn speckled. I did it wrong.
There's no way to dye yarn.
Right. I was just gonna say, hey, Bernie,
Unless
is
you're
there a wrong
carving.
way to like draw or paint or whatever medium you
If
just
you-
use? Like,
If you leave a white bit of canvas, is it like no? Not
It's
talented.
not finished.
Throw
It's
it
not.
away.
Yeah, not good. Not painting. Not painting anymore.
You gotta throw it in the garbage.
Burn it.
oh, there's been so much
like
drama.
when this stuff happens, do you get people message you and say this is what Carlin said, or is it just something you see that comes up that she's posted?
I don't follow her, and I have her blocked, so people have to message me and like,
People message
oh,
you.
by
Yeah.
the way, like, she posted shit about you again. It's like, oh, fantastic.
Free advertising, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But it's also, I mean, she's just reaching so hard at this point. It's like, really? Like 6 people interact with her at this point. Nobody cares. You know, she's not hurting my business. She's not hurting my feelings. I mean, I'm laughing my butt off over here. Like, you are so freaking desperate at this point. So, I mean, she can say whatever she likes.
It's a bit of comic relief.
It really is. I mean,
Yeah,
I
to
mean,
answer your question though, Bertie, I used to go, so I have a fake account so that I can go and see what other people are saying about me. And then I thought that just isn't me. That's
It's
just
not worth it as well.
It's not worth it. Why do I care what
I have
people
one.
say?
Well,
Yeah,
what
but
they
yours
do with
is
me
though.
is they
You-
block me so I can't see. So I never block anybody. I think I've blocked 2 people in my entire time, I think. And but then they do it because then they want to be able to spread whatever they want to say, you know. So I do have a sock puppet account, as the phrase is. But the funny thing is my current nemesis is Bitchy Knitter, as most of you know who she is, or he is, or it is. And the funny thing is Bitchy Knitter has blocked me, but has a sock puppet account to follow everything I do, and then posts about it. And then I use my sock puppet account to see what she's posted about me. So I actually posted to her and said, look, why don't we just be honest about this? You know, just follow me and I'll follow you.
Time.
And then we could just have a conversation, you know, rather than having to go through all these, 4 different accounts. So we can kind of bicker with each other over the internet. You know, it's so
It's weird
pathetic.
behaviour, isn't it? I've got quite a few people that make fake accounts to follow me on, and they're quite open about it as well. And they're like, yeah, we have to make lots of accounts so that we can keep an eye on her. And whenever I hear things like that, or people send me a screenshot of it or whatever, I just think, oh, get a life. I'm like living rent free in your head forever. must be so boring. You're just spending all your time looking at my page, and everybody can see my page. I don't care. But I do block a lot of people. I've got like at least half of the amount of people that follow me on Twitter. Like I've probably got like 5,000 people blocked. I just block people willy-nilly. I'm really like, and I get angry as well. If people are like really horrible to me, I'm like, right, not only am I going to block you, I'm going to block everybody that likes you and all their friends. And I just go block it all, have a beer, I block it all, listen to some music, and I'm like, fuck you.
Block fest.
I think I need to be a little bit more like you.
It's just too much like kindergarten, you know. If you don't think this way, then I'm not going to be your friend.
Exactly. And I never put up with that shit in school, so I'm not going to put up with it now.
Right.
Either.
Okay. See ya. Bye. Yeah.
Like you pretty much learn straight away. Like I think when I was about 7, I went to school one morning, and all the girls said, because it like in the playground in school in England, I don't know if you do the same in America. In the morning, you'll have to line up in your class groups, and then the teacher calls you in. So all the girls said, hey, see Kelly over there? We're not friends with her now, so we're not going to stand near her. So we all stood away from her, and I thought, oh, this is a bit weird. All right then, something up with Kelly. Nobody likes her anymore. And then the next day, they were like, hey, see Sophie over there? We're not friends with her anymore. We're not going to stand with her. And Kelly was back in the group for some reason, and I was like, what's going on? Why is this happening? And then I remember even then I'm thinking, I don't get it. I'm just not gonna join in because that'll be me tomorrow. It would be, hey, there's Birdie over there. We're not friends with her and all this. So like,
it's so funny the difference between girls bullying and boys bullying. It is so different. Time. You know, for the boys, it was like you'd get a punch in the face, and then you know that might be it, unless they really hated you, and then they were looking to punch you in the face every day. You know,
and if a boy fights back and they have a punch up, sometimes they're like best friends the next day. Because it's like a bonding moment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like bro respect.
Yeah. Whereas if you
it's
make
like prison rules, same in prison, isn't it? If you get bullied in prison, you need to fight back.
I don't know.
I know. I'm talking like I've been.
Yeah, okay.
I was going to say, how do you know, Neil?
You're like, yeah, prison rules.
First-hand experience.
Actually,
I said as if I've been in Mal prison. Like I just went, yep. As if I've just come straight out of prison.
If you want to hear it. I did spend a week in a Canadian prison.
What?
You went to prison?
Do?
And I was deported from Canada. So I was arrested and I was put in a cell. And then I was taken to another cell in Vancouver where anybody who was foreign was put into the cell before they had your court date. So I was in there with a guy that had tried to pull out another guy's eye because this guy had tried to rape his wife or something. Well, he was American.
That's fair. I mean, that seems logical.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There was a German guy that was in there because he'd been stealing rifles from somebody's house. Don't know the full story because he didn't speak much English. There was another guy that thought he was Jesus and was just non-stop doing that whole, I am Jesus, I am the clearly not quite right. I can't remember some of the others, but then there was me, and I was in prison for picking cherries.
What?
And that is true. So
What's her name?
They were Victorian cherries, so Victoria.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was working illegally on a cherry farm in a place called Osoyoos, which is in the Okanagan Valley, which is just on the border with America. And on July the 4th, we decided to jump the border into America to go on a night out, which was legal. There was nothing wrong with that. But when we went back into Canada, they must have had suspicions as to why we were going from America into this tiny town called Osoyoos. And then they went and looked for us, and they found me on the top of a ladder picking cherries off the tree. So I spent a week in a cell. We weren't allowed to wash. I didn't brush my teeth for a week, and it was horrible. There was like a toilet at the end of the room, and then beds at the other end of the room, and then like this, everything was metal and screwed to the ground. And so if you wanted to go to the toilet, you just had to go in front of everybody. And we were there. We didn't leave this room for 7 days. And then on the 7th day,
Did you?
Well, no, the funny thing was, when I was only 19, so I was like just a bit of a kid. And I remember thinking, right, how am I going to do this? When I was being taken to this room, I knew there were going to be, some dodgy people in there. And I just thought, I'm just going to have to use my charm. So I just went in and I just went, hi, everyone, I'm Neil. What are you in for? And so that's why I knew. They all went round. And then they said, well, what are you in for? I went, picking cherries like that. And they just laughed. And so they all liked me. So luckily, I didn't have to do anything for that.
Excellent.
Lynne's looking a bit like, did you really? Then I had to go to court. And that was the scariest moment of my life because I had this solicitor or lawyer who was appointed for me. And he said beforehand, don't worry, he's at it. Don't worry, he said, you're 19, no one's going to do anything. You'll get off with this, don't even worry about it. Anyway, the moment the magistrate or the judge or whatever he was walked in, this guy completely turned and he said, Your Honor, he knows how serious this crime is and he's willing to take. And for a moment, I thought, I'm going to prison. I thought, I'm going to prison for the rest of my life. Yeah. And, but anyway, they just said, you've got 6 weeks to leave the country. And that was all that I got. So I've never been back since. So I don't know whether I'm allowed back in Canada. So
Canada is like the border of Canada is pretty crazy. We got held up there once for like 3 hours just because we went to America, and because I already knew people from when I went there years ago, we stopped at different people's houses and then we stopped at different hotels, and some of my friends paid for the hotels for us as like a gift when we got there. And so we had all the receipts in the boot and we had loads of booze in the boot because we were heading to another friend's house for a house party. And when we were going into Canada, they were just like, how long are you going to be here for? And we went, hello? And they said, what are you doing here? And we went, hello? And they didn't care. So they let us in. And then our Wi-Fi cut off when we got into Canada. So we were driving around going, I don't know where we are. And then we were just like driving around and we'd see a sign that said like, city, 50 people. And we were like, oh my God, we're going to get murdered. Let's not drive here. So then not that Canadians are murderers or anything, but we made our way back to the border and we drove back into, I think it was New York. And they were crazy about it. They were like, why have you got all of these receipts in different names for hotels? And I was like, I'm not stealing people's identities or anything. I'm definitely just here for visiting friends. So there was this whole thing about it, and they had us there for 3 hours. And there was a funny moment when the security or the police guys asked my partner to empty his pockets, and he emptied his pockets, and it took a really long time because it was just full of pistachio shells in his pocket, just emptying them all out on the table. We were just like really embarrassed.
I had cherry stones in my pockets.
Did you? You were caught red-handed, literally.
Literally, yeah.
I can't believe I'm talking to an actual ex-criminal.
I know. Neil, I'm surprised. Maybe people will stop messing with you now that they know about your sordid past.
Yeah, don't mess with me.
You should have said it was more gruesome. You should have said you had to fight in there every day, like Fight Club.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of you being accused of that you put on the Father Christmas persona just to charm us Americans.
Oh,
like,
yes.
That
God,
like
yeah.
charm you out of trouble in prison. You can do it anywhere.
Yeah. I didn't have the white beard then, though. I was just a little boy then. It was more like Santa's elf.
That's quite scary at 19.
Well, the funny thing was, I didn't, when you get your phone call, you're allowed one phone call. And I thought, well, I can't ring England. We weren't allowed to ring England, and it's like, well, I don't know anyone to ring in Canada, so I just said, well, there's no one to ring. So nobody here knew until I was out. So after I rang my mum and she said, oh, how's everything going? And I just went, oh, I've been in prison for a week. And she went, oh, right, okay. And I don't think she knew what I was actually saying.
Like, what's the weather?
Oh, because this is before, obviously before the days of mobile phones and the internet, that none of that existed, So it was literally old pay phones, and having to, what do they call it, reverse the charges to try and ring anybody, But I have to say, they were very, very pleasant prison guards. And they said right from the beginning, when they did the handovers, the shift handovers, They were massive. They were like these massive big bruises. The women were the same as well. It's like big brick shithouses walking around.
No necks.
And they said, "Oh, don't worry, you won't have any trouble with him." So they were always really nice to me and quite,
Uh-oh.
Oh, what was that? Uh-oh.
I don't know. Something.
Who's going to
it as
die the
well.
cherry picking yarn?
Oh, please make
I
caught
can't
red-handed or
believe that.
cherry-picking criminal.
Honestly, I would never have guessed that in a million years that you've been in prison for picking cherries.
Yeah. Out
Could
of
have
all
been
the
worse,
things you
couldn't
could have said, that's not what I would have guessed. So
Have you ever been on Banged Up Abroad? You should tell your story on there and get some bunts.
Yeah, I should.
They probably
Well,
pay out quite nicely for
Shall I
it
tell you
as
what the
well.
most horrific thing was about the whole experience? And I don't think
Cherries
the Americans...
didn't taste nice.
No, they were delicious. I tell you what, the cherries are massive over there. Our cherries in this country, they're like tiny. Your cherries
That
are
big.
huge.
That big.
They're like apples. Anyway, the worst thing about the whole experience was what they gave me to eat, because it was the same thing every single day without fail. And Birdie will know what I'm on about now, but we have baked beans, our Heinz baked beans. Mm-hmm. Every day at lunchtime, we had a bowl of what I thought was going to be baked beans like we know. But what it was American baked beans, and they have a big
It's not
blob
baked beans.
of fat. Like there was this massive blob of fat in the middle of it, and it was like, what the is this? And like I didn't know what you're supposed to do with it, so I kind of ate around it. But I think the idea is you stir it in or something, but it was disgusting. So there was that and a piece of toast that was cold, and that was lunch every day. Every breakfast was a boiled egg and a cold cup of tea with sugar in it, which I don't like. And what did we have and the evening meal, I think, was things like McDonald's or whatever the burger place nearest was. So they brought in McDonald's every day, or whatever it was, the equivalent. Mm-hmm. And that was the worst of it. The rest of the time was just the boredom and not being able to have a wash. Because it was just like, you imagine 7 days. I stunk. No. And you had to go to court that way. I had to. Oh, and the other thing, I'm forgetting half of the story here. On the first day that they arrested me, they took my glasses, because I wore glasses when I was that age as well. And they took my shoes, because I had laces in the shoes, so that you don't kill yourself. Oh, yeah. Took my watch as well. But then the idiots went and sent it to a different country, a different state, province, whatever they call it, in Canada. So I was walked through Vancouver Island in barefoot, with handcuffed next to the guy. No. It looked like I was arrested for murder by an FBI guy. Honestly, it really did look. And he put a coat over our hands because I was handcuffed to it, and he put it over. And basically, I was walked through Vancouver Airport in bare feet, because they took my stuff and sent it somewhere else. So I spent the whole week not being able to see, nothing on my feet at all. And then when I went to court, I was still barefoot, still no glasses, still nothing. And in the end, they had to give me a $20, this is how long ago it is, a $20 voucher to buy some new trainers for myself. So God knows what that would have been worth today, but probably more like $100, wouldn't it? And then I had to make my own way across the country to get all my stuff. I had to pay for that myself, so I was so annoyed.
I'm just envisioning you with a bowl of beans saying, "Please, sir."
No more. I didn't want any more. That was the thing. It's like, please take this blob of fat out of this. Why do they put fat in beans? I don't understand.
And they put meat in it as well, didn't they? I saw a tin of bacon. I saw a tin.
It's supposed to be bacon.
Why?
Because that's how you make them.
It's not beans. That's not
because
beans.
It's good.
Yes, it is.
No.
Bacon and onions and
baked beans.
Yes, and brown sugar and Karo syrup and mustard and ketchup. Yeah, that's how we make them. That's how I make them.
I'm not listening to this.
We don't actually make them. We just warm them up, though, don't we? We get a tin and warm it up. We don't actually make baked beans.
I totally over a barrel. They're like, no, these are the only way beans are. And here we are with our beautiful bean variety in America. And Heinz are like, no, this is the only thing that exists, Brits. Have this on toast and be sad. Like, and we're like, put some bacon in it. Have a little bean variety? Yeah, be awesome.
Have this in your beans and be sad.
So it was a specific torture for Brits,
Yeah.
then, was it?
Well, so like I don't know if I said yet, but I am in the Pittsburgh area right now, so home of Heinz. So there's the Heinz Museum here, and I haven't been there for a while, but I've been before, and they have in there all of the commercials for the different Heinz products, and they just have them playing on a loop.
Oh, that must be brilliant.
That is
Lots
pretty cool.
of British people very excited about beans.
Yeah. It's our national dish.
Heinz beans.
Well, we have what's called beans on toast. So
That sounds disgusting.
You
Also
have
a
two
That
musician.
pieces
is
of toast
good.
with real butter. It's got to have butter on it,
Mhm.
and then you put your baked beans on the top, and then you eat it with a knife and fork, and it's delicious
I've had it before.
Why?
It is good.
And
because
the
it's
people have it-
delicious.
You have it with your fry up as well. So you have your fried
What's
egg,
fry
your
up?
sausages, your bacon, your
You know what a
mushrooms.
fry up is?
Yeah, or
Oh.
a tomato. You can have like
Yes.
a fried tomato, or you can have the tin of tomatoes, and you have the baked bean, and you have
Yeah.
black
What's a fry
pudding.
up?
And
Oh, shall we get onto black pudding?
hash
Because they won't like
browns.
black pudding.
I love black pudding.
Do you know what black pudding is?
I try
It
not to
sounds
think
like-
about it.
Is it like blood pudding?
You call it blood sausage, I think.
Yes.
With
So it's
oats
blood,
and
yeah.
spices.
And it's
Oh.
delicious. And I was
No.
born in the place where they come from, which is Bury. Bury black puddings are like proper.
Where's
black puddings.
Berry?
Do you know where Bolton is? Have you heard of Bolton?
Yeah.
It's not far from there. So it's north of Manchester.
Okay, yeah, quite far up north.
Yeah, because what you won't know about in England is people from the south, like Birdy, don't go north.
Anything
they're
above
scared.
London is north.
Yeah, we call them southern softies, and they call us northern monkeys.
Hey, I've never said that.
That's not
No,
very
generalising.
nice. Yeah.
But the reason why they call us northern monkeys is because in a place called Hartlepool, which is a bit further north than here, back in the 1700s, they found a ship. They were at war with France, or we were at war with France, and they found a monkey on the ship and no people, and they had never seen a French person, so they thought the monkey was a French person. So they hung the monkey as a traitor, and that's where the term northern monkeys comes from.
Don't tell PETA. My gosh.
But we did actually used to have capital punishment for animals as well in England.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
So, like if a
feel-
pig committed a crime or something, we'd actually take the pig to court. And there was a lawyer at the time that made it his life's mission to represent animals in court on their cases. I don't know how successful he was, but I mean, I thought that was pretty noble.
Interesting.
Well,
I
the
feel like
Americans
I've
can't laugh
wandered
at
into
that.
a different.
You
world,
guys used to burn animals
Well,
as
this is
witches,
just
didn't
what-
you? So
But this
I
is just
nev- I
what
never burned
happens
one,
when
I
you
don't
don't
know.
have the internet, you know? When you're not on TikTok all day, you're just taking animals to court.
Putting the parrot on the stand, Ace Attorney style.
Sounds like a Dr. Doolittle thing.
Can you imagine if you went to prison and when you were picking cherries and there was just like a pig and a duck in there, and that's all you
What are
had
they
as
in
your
for?
companionship?
the conversation would have been better than what it actually was. So maybe that would have been a good thing.
Do people talk a lot in prison, or do they just keep themselves to themselves? I suppose it depends on the personality type, doesn't it?
Yeah. There was one guy that just completely withdrew and just sat on his bed and didn't speak to anybody the whole time. There was me and this American guy, the one who tried to pluck out the other guy's eye. We got on really well, and the funny thing was, he said after we got out, he said, I'll get you some shoes, because obviously I was the only one that had no shoes, so he felt sorry for me. You know, I was the one who was the worst off, if you like. But he probably went to prison, so I don't know whatever happened to him after I went. But yeah, most people just sat around because there was nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do. So we just had to talk, you know, about shit. You know, I can't even remember any of the a bit like what we're doing now, I suppose. This was very much what it was like.
This
There
is
were
very
6
much
of
like
us.
prison.
Yeah, and in a minute, one of us will have to go and use the toilet in front of everyone else, and then we're in prison.
No, thank you.
Good, thanks.
I couldn't deal.
Well, the thing is, I mean, the first time I thought, oh my God, I'm going to have to, go for a shit in front of everyone here. And the thing is, it's like, oh, what if it really smells? I wasn't bothered about being naked because, like, you don't worry about that as a man. If you're, in a room full of other men, you just do it, But, yeah, you just had to do it. The first time was horrible, but after that, it was like everybody had to do it. So
were the other people like conscious of you sitting on the throne, and so they would like look away?
Yeah, it was really funny.
Okay.
There was like a real etiquette not to look or not to talk to that person.
Yeah,
or
don't
anything,
make eye contact.
Yeah. Oh, but it's worse. You hear everything.
Oh.
The farts, the splash. The bit
Speaking-
of paper.
No, I understand that one now because I've got a hearing aid now. I don't know if I told you last time, but I was born deaf and I stopped wearing hearing aids when I was a teenager because I wanted to be cool like everybody else. And I never became cool, so it's all right. But I got my hearing aids.
So you can hear now and be not
I can
cool.
hear everything, and it is really weird. I was like... So my partner, he like went to the toilet and I was on the other side of the flat and I could hear the toilet flush and I was like, why is it so loud? Why does that thing, why haven't we made a silent toilet yet? Why is this that we've got all of this technology and the toilet has to be loud? Why? Why do we need to know about that? So there's that, and oh my God, I heard the neighbours having sex. Took me a while to figure out what it was. I texted about 6 people and then until I figured it out. And then I was like, I think I just heard a sex.
I think we need to interject here as well. So it's not like in America, you guys have your house and you've got like a bit of space between the next house, haven't you?
Oh yeah, there weren't that
In
wild.
England, we're literally on top of each other. So like on a Saturday night at 3 a.m, I hear my neighbours having sex every single Saturday night at 3 a.m.
All the time.
So it got to the point one week where I started making sex noises just so they didn't think I wasn't having sex. Because I thought, why should they have all the fun?
Wow.
Oh God.
Oh, DK's gone. Was it too
No,
much?
she's out.
She's back.
That's too far.
Yeah, I should have explained that I live in a flat, so there's no one below me because I live above a shop, and there's no one on that side because it's just storage for the shop. But on that side, there is a couple, but they're not next to me up here because they don't have another upstairs. But downstairs, that's where I heard them.
Are you
So
whispering
did you
in
bang
case
on
they
the
hear
door
you
saying,
now?
is everything all right in there? Hello?
The window's open, and I don't want the neighbours outside to hear me going, I heard them have a sex.
You gotta bring back the medieval tapestries. Like, this wall needs more insulation right here. No, nope.
It's a really old building as well. Like that, we get a lot of that here as well, like really old buildings and that. So this one's like ancient, I think. Well, at
Wait, made
least
me laugh. Oh, so sorry, go on, Birdie. What were you saying?
I was going to say at least maybe 100 years, but I'm not sure how old this building is.
If anyone watched Kerry's live from Germany the other day, she was talking about that. About how in America, you have this thing where it's like you've restored a house to what it was like 100 years ago, and it's like really old. Whereas to us, it's like everybody's in a house that's at least 100 years old. And we don't even think about how old things are. We want things that are new now, don't we? Anything new, it's like, oh, brilliant, a new house.
I prefer the old one because the new houses are being like cheaply made and rushed.
And small,
So
tiny
yeah,
windows.
the old houses, like my flat's pretty big, but I reckon probably in the old days they probably had like a couple of generations live in houses like this.
That is interesting. The further east you go in America, the older the houses get. In the New England area, you have lots of old houses, whereas here where I live in Western Colorado, our house is very old. It's 112 years old.
So for American standards, that is old, isn't it? That's very, especially for there. Yeah, because I suppose that everybody landed in the east side of America first, so that's where they settled and then moved slowly out. Yeah. Which is the last state to be created? Which was the last state?
Hawaii.
Alaska
apart
and
from
Hawaii.
So Alaska and then Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
So before Alaskans were American, what were they?
territory.
They were a bunch. I mean, you had
like crazy people,
indigenous people, and then you had
Heathens.
like just whatever random settlers were there.
So
Probably
they were
some-
they didn't have a country. They didn't have a.
I don't
They
know.
were just
because
nomads.
Alaska's like really wild, isn't it? It's like that's the bit that's all like covered in snow, and people that live there are a little bit crazy, and that's where all the aliens land.
That's our
right.
Sasquatch
Like a
is.
northern
No,
exposure.
Is that really offensive what I've just said? Because I
No,
don't want any Alaskans cancelling me.
That's what we like. We like offensive.
the aliens land in Nevada.
Near the
Are they
water
nearer
and
to you,
trees,
Lynn?
right?
Are aliens nearer
Yeah,
to you?
Oh yeah, they're closer to us. Yeah.
They like the water and the trees in the national forests.
Well, that's not Nevada. They just like the desert, arid
Oh,
land.
the Nevada, the desert.
Yeah, and the
Hey,
Nevada
is that
desert.
really where the aliens are? I thought they liked the forest.
I don't. Depends on who you talk to.
You have Rendlesham Forest. I know all about that.
Who? Say
New
that again?
Mexico.
You don't know about
Yeah.
Rendlesham Forest? That's in the UK.
No.
It's in Britain.
It
Yeah.
rings a bell.
Whereabouts is it? Do you know where it is?
Not quite sure, but Linda Moulton Howe does a really cool. She goes into it. She's one of those alien researcher people. But there was a whole thing where there was a military base, and there were also there was some American military station there too. It was a Royal Air Force base, and there was something that happened one night with like some triangular craft landed, and it burnt shit in the woods and.
I think I've heard of it, but I
I'm gonna
didn't know
look it
what the
up.
place was called.
It's
ringing a
referred-
bell.
Yeah, it's usually called like the UK's version of Roswell or something.
Yeah, I have heard of it. Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
this
I've
is
heard
something
of
that's
it as
always
well. I'm just
puzzled us
looking
though.
it
Is
up.
why do the aliens go to America?
Because they made a deal with the government in the 50s.
Ah,
Yeah,
with
they've come here a few times, but we weren't that interested in them. We just went, oh, shut up and go away. Whereas the Americans went, hey, new people.
So I'm reading some of the chats. Yes, the Alaska was purchased from Russia, and a lot of Chinese folks walked over the Bering Strait Bridge and then down into New Mexico, and it is into New Mexico, and it is said that the Apache are descendants of the Mongolian folks.
wow.
That's one theory. Somebody else in the chat said that New York City has lots of aliens too. Those are bust there, though.
Illegal alien.
Different.
Yeah,
So
Katie
looked up
said that forest is in Suffolk, so
Yeah,
too
that's
far
what I was about
south
to
for
say.
Neil. Yeah, that's too far
Yeah,
south
and it was
for
in
me, yeah.
1980, so it was quite recent. Well, in my head, 1980 is not that far away. But
It was
yeah,
20 years ago.
there was apparently claims of UFO landings. That is totally. Look, here's my thing. Some people think that men magically turn into women. Some people think that
I'm a black woman.
UFOs have landed. Yeah, UFOs have landed, and that aliens might be real. Now, the people that believe that UFOs have landed and aliens might be real are considered less credible than the people that believe that men can magically turn into women. I'm on the side of the alien people.
Aliens.
I think that is much more of a possibility. If we're going to believe some crazy shit, that's the shit I believe.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of people that
I
are
agree with you,
atheists believe in aliens and so on. And I my thought on God, so for the religious, this might be interesting, is I often wonder if there is a God, for me, maybe we were just grown in a Petri dish. And then he put us on the side and we are just growing, like a mold on a pet. And God doesn't really have much of an interest in what he's created because it was done by accident, like maybe one day,
So what
we'll
you're
realize.
saying is that God talked to us, but then he didn't really mean it. But that's cool.
Well, I've watched the Simpsons episode where Lisa creates a little universe in the Petri dish, and I think, yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
that's what
maybe
God is.
That's it.
That's a good idea. I mean, I
Yeah.
think it's for me, it's a bit weird to think that we're the only thing here and that's it. So if people,
I agree with you.
Yeah, and I think like the God thing, if when people say I think when people say they're not sure about, because I'm not sure about the God thing, I don't know whether there is a God or not. What I feel is that there are things we can't explain and they're bigger than us, and some people call that God. Some people don't, for some reason.
Yeah, in Britain, we're not as religious, are we, as Americans
Not
tend
anymore,
to be?
no.
Yeah. People who are religious here, I don't know whether it's because they've been browbeaten, I don't know, but they tend to be very quiet about it. You know, it's almost
think
like,
so, yeah.
you know, I remember working with a lady who was religious and she just didn't say anything. I think it's because people might have taken the piss out of her, or I don't really know, which is quite sad, really, because...
Yeah, there is a lot of taking the piss. Like, I grew up... when I was in school, I was taught about the Bible, and I went to Sunday school when I was a kid. But I didn't, when I was really little, I didn't know that they were just stories. I thought that, like, I don't know if there was like some sort of lost in translation, because when I was small enough to be learning this, I was relying on sign language. I wasn't talking as much, and because of what I was born with. And then I think it got lost in translation, because when I was learning about the Bible stories, it was being told to me in sign language, and I thought that these were things that are happening now. I was like, shit, there's so much. There was a plague yesterday. Now there's some dude killing all the newborns, and there's just so much going on.
Well, it is happening now.
So like,
it just wasn't happening back then.
I just took it all literally for some... Oh, just nearly smashed the house up, sorry. Tall people problems. But yeah, I just took it all literally for some reason. But there is a lot of, like, I don't know if the schools do that anymore, if they teach any Bible stories. We used to do Bible stories and hymns, everything, every day.
Yeah. I went to a Catholic school, so we had to do prayers, I think 4 or 5 times a day. Everything that we were taught revolved around religion in some way. You know, the only one I can think of was, you know, a maths problem, which was, you know, the feeding of the 5,000, you know, that kind of thing. You know, we had to, everything, even our English lessons were, which is probably why I rejected it so much when I was a teenager. Because obviously you want to be cool, don't you, when you're 15? As well. Yeah. So it's not because you don't have that in America, do you? Because yours is very secular, your education, isn't it, generally?
Yes, yes. Unless you send your child to a Christian school or a religious school, because there are Jewish schools. Or if you, I'm finding that a lot of people who homeschool also, you know, interject their religion into their schooling, which is fine.
It's not if it's homeschooling, that's all good. You're homeschooling to have a Bible class.
Actually, when I was at Jordan Peterson's show the other day, somebody asked him about whether the Bible should be taught in schools, and he said something really good. He said that if you consider the Bible to be literature, and that so much literature, especially in like Western culture, has been inspired by some stories from the Bible, you know, like Shakespeare and things like that. So at some point you're going to have to know some of these stories. So if you think of it as literature, it should be in the schools as literature. But when it comes to teaching it as a religion, that it should be left to the religious schools or homeschooling. And I thought that was a really good answer to that one, because I've always been a bit like, I don't think one religion should be pushed in a public school. But I think that if it is a religious school, then that's fine, because that's what you're going to that school for. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. And I used to teach 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, and I would teach a mythology section. And I would always say, you know, some people believe that this is mythology, and I would hold up the Bible. Well, of course, I always had that one kid that didn't understand what I was saying, and I had a parent come in saying, my son said, you said that the Bible is a myth. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no.
That's not what you said.
Some people believe that the Bible is mythology. So I think if you look at it in that context, you know, as a literature part, this is mythology. Some people believe this is mythology. Some people believe that we're sitting on a turtle. You know, that's a mythology.
I had a lady get upset with me because I compared Demeter to like a regular woman that I had known once. And she's like, people still worship her. You should take this seriously. I'm like, why? What?
You know,
Do
if
people
I was
still worship Demeter?
Oh,
Wow.
there's
Who
new
knows?
pagans popping up all the time.
Better than Hecate or whatever she's called. Is it Hecate or Hecate? I don't know what that one is.
Oh, we always called her Hecate.
What
I
is
don't know how
that
you
one?
pronounce it.
But
I
what
don't
is
know.
it?
She's a bit of a dodgy one, isn't she? Isn't she like the evil one or something? I don't know. She's a bit like the devil, a female version of the devil.
I don't pay attention. I'm sorry.
Anyways, so sorry, I think we kind of moved forward quickly. So what was your biggest takeaway from seeing Jordan Peterson? That must have been so cool. I know you mentioned.
Oh, my biggest takeaway. I'm not sure because I'm still like, I feel like I'm still taking it in. Like me and my partner are still like talking about stuff that he talked about on the night. And one of the things I liked is that my fella, he said afterwards, because he doesn't listen to Jordan Peterson, so he wasn't like as excited as I was. I was so excited I couldn't do anything else all day except drink beer. That was it. Just like I just need to drink a bit of beer and then eat something and then go to the show. But my partner said that when we come out of the show, he said one thing that stuck with me, and he said it was really nice to hear Jordan Peterson talk about the good things that our country has done. And I thought that, and I felt like that he said it in a way of he needed to hear it, and I think people do need to hear it because there's a lot of denigrating the countries we come from and the societies we live in, and it's constant. Like we went to an art gallery earlier that day, and all of the art was just like the descriptions next to it ruined it for me because the description was like, and this is a slave, and this was the first slave that was ever painted, and I thought that's brilliant, you know, and it was like this moment where nobody had painted a black slave before, and so this was a sort of like a revolutionary moment in art when this artist took a stand to paint this slave. But then the person who wrote the text just ruined it by going on and on about how, we still haven't sorted out slavery or something, just going on about how racism hasn't been resolved and this never solved the problem. And I was like, why would this solve the problem? It's a painting. And it was a good enough move for that artist at the time to do that. And it was just this constant putting down our culture in the art gallery. And I thought that was quite interesting. I even took some photos. I was thinking of making a post about it because I thought even in a room full of this amazing art with these amazing backstories, we've got to bring it back to how we're not good enough today. And I just don't understand it.
Yeah, it's one of my personal issues, this as well, because I'm always harping on about stuff like this on Instagram. Because I think it's so easy to just say, oh, you had slaves or you did bad things, you colonizers did all these horrible things in the empire. But the fact of the matter is we did a hell of a lot more good than ever we did bad. And if we took away what we did to those countries would not be driving cars now, they would not be watching TV now, they wouldn't have lives that they have now, so we did a hell of a lot of good for the world, as did the rest of the Western countries as well that came, that did colonized afterwards or before us or whatever. The slavery thing is one that particularly annoys me because
me too.
White Europeans were enslaved for much longer and in bigger numbers by North Africans and Middle Eastern people.
We're not allowed to talk about that, though.
And that is completely erased. And Britain especially, where Bristol is? Bristol Channel, there's a small island there. And pirates lived on that island. And they used to there were 60 ships in the water around there that were literally just stealing people from the towns. And also Malta. Have you ever heard of Malta near Italy? There's an island off Malta called Gozo, and every single person on that island, there were 2,000 people living there, every single one of them was taken into slavery apart from 60 of the oldest people, and only 2, I think, ever escaped and got out of there. And the reason why nobody knows these stories is because black slaves were bred, as horrible as that is, they were bred, and there was some form of family. Whether they stayed in that family is a different matter. They could have been taken away from their families, but there was an oral tradition that got passed down. But every man that was enslaved by the North Africans, because it was Muslims that were enslaving the Europeans, they were all castrated immediately, so they didn't have children. And if any of the women that were mostly sex slaves got pregnant by the men that were using them, those children would have been taken from those women and brought up by the Muslim men, and probably had no idea what their background was, so there was no oral tradition there either. So the history of what went on, the Barbary slave trade as it's known, is far worse than the American, the transatlantic American slave trade, far worse. And the things, I'm going to write about this at some point, but what the British did to end slavery is absolutely fantastic. It's the most amazing story ever.
Talking about.
Yeah, and nobody gets taught this. The sacrifices that people made. And me and you, Birdie, if anybody has paid British tax money up to 2006, we have paid for the release of slaves in Britain, because the debt from that we were still paying till recently. So as far as I'm concerned, we've paid our reparations.
Yep.
And
I didn't even
don't
enslave
owe
anyone, and I paid it.
Nobody asked us, did they? But
no,
yeah,
I don't like all that shit. I don't look, and I don't like. I said it on your post on Instagram the other day. I don't understand the obsession with making not just everything about race, but everything about yourself all the bloody time. It's like, I think it's making people miserable. I think it's making them very unhappy, because they're really focusing on where can I look for an egregious sort of harm that's potentially or imaginary done to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I don't understand how that's going to empower or help anybody.
Well, victimhood is a currency now. It's like the more victimhood you have, the more power you have, and you can just lord it over other people.
I've seen that.
It's the intersectionality as well, isn't it? So
yes,
if you're non-binary and you're disabled and you're black and you're the descendant of a slave, then you go to the top of the queue.
Well, the identifying as is just a way of getting out of being white, isn't it? And guilty.
Yeah.
So if you're white and guilty, you can just identify as trans, and suddenly you're the worst off person in the world.
Have you noticed how many of these, the knitters and the dyers and so on, so you two excluded, obviously, Lynne and Tina, but how many of them are in a heterosexual relationship but claim to be either bisexual or queer? And to me, it's like, well, why do you need to tell people that if you're in a relationship? Because it's like, if you're in a relationship, why are you advertising that you have sexual feelings about anybody else?
Well, it's a thing now, isn't it? Like, I spoke to one of my friend's teenage kids. I won't expose who it is, but they said, I'll say they because I don't expose whatever. But so they told me that in school, if you're anything outside of like one of these labels, so if you're like just a normal straight kid, you're the outcast and you're not respected. So you've got to have one of these labels, and the easiest one to take on is non-binary, because you don't have to do anything. You can still like go out with girls if you're a boy. You can still be straight and be non-binary. That's cool. So I think a lot of it with young people is peer pressure. They're having to take a label to fit in. But with the older people, I don't get it.
Back in our day, we just started smoking to be cool.
Or dyed our hair, or had an ear pierced.
Or
that was it.
wasn't it? I used to go to the park and drink WKD or White Lightning and try and find a boy with eyeliner to kiss.
Ooh, yeah.
Was he non-binary?
Absolutely not. But I would have fallen for that as a teenager, I think. I would have...
I think I probably would have. I think I would have been completely seduced by that as a teenager. Just because I wanted to be different as a teenager. I used to dye my hair green and blue and whatever, like they do now. But I grew out of it, and I think, when you see a 40, 50-year-old, still dyeing the hair bright pink, Tina. You're not 40 or 50, Anna.
26.
I do wonder, I think, what's that all about,
Well, I don't know. I think some of these people have made dyeing hair very uncool.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's funny because people see dyed hair now and they automatically assume, oh, you have pink hair, you have blue hair, you must be a raging liberal. And then if you're not a raging liberal, and then you open your mouth and they're like, what?
Yeah, and they get double angry. Like I got accused of appropriating non-binary culture with my haircut and my glasses.
Oh, that's a culture now, really?
Yeah, and I've apparently stolen the culture of the people that I oppress.
Do better.
And I was like, I just wrote back on Facebook because this happened on my art page. I just wrote back, shut up. I've looked like this since I was like 15. Go away. Since before you were born, young man or lady, whatever you are.
Well, I was accused the other day. This was just absolutely fantastic. It's the best thing that's ever been, I've been accused of. That I am actually sockmatician Nathan Taylor. And that did you see that? And I
did not see that.
Yeah, so basically Nathan Taylor is the one that's behind Block Magazine, and who I am, I've got no idea. So I've just got this thing in my head of Nathan Taylor wearing a fat suit, and then at the end of the day taking me off and just being
that's
he is an actor.
That's a really nice compliment because he is
I know
fabulous.
He's a genius, isn't he?
Fabulous knitter. I love to watch his knitting podcasts. Yes.
Apparently he can really sing too, so anytime you want to just belt it out there, sockmatician.
You don't want me to sing.
Brilliant.
Well, you could totally narrate audiobooks. I would totally pay to hear that.
What, me saying, and I say that every five
you need to read White Fragility for audiobooks.
That's a
that would
idea.
be awesome. I would listen to that.
To read that, and I can't. I just
I'd need a bucket, wouldn't I, to be sick? Every other. Oh, yeah, I might do that. That's a good idea. Guys,
speaking of reading things, I came into possession of something last night that I'm extremely excited about. So going back to our favorite candidate for governor of New Hampshire, we all know she has a PhD, right? And when you are a PhD candidate, you have to write a thesis or a dissertation or whatever.
You found it?
I have it. A little birdie gave it to me, and
not this birdie.
No,
she's like, no, I didn't.
Birdie.
I was thinking this. I've been up to some weird shit.
It's a non-famous birdie, but I have
then.
it, and I'm going to read some of it on camera. I mean, because so if we're gonna review things that we haven't paid for, I mean, like she reviewed my yarn, and she's never used my yarn, so I think it's only fair that I, turnabout's fair play. I'm going to review her thesis that she never had to defend, by the way. So if she'd like to defend it, now's her choice.
How did she never defend it?
She went to an online school, Capella U. Yeah. So.
As our friends over the pond say, that's bloody brilliant. I will watch that twice.
What was the subject of it, or can you not say yet?
It's all about workplace bullying.
God, the irony!
I know. And I didn't read the whole thing yet, but I read the intro, and I gotta tell you, it's not very professional. The intro, it's not. I mean, I never got a PhD, so I never had to write like a thesis or anything, but I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to talk about your soulmate or name the people who bullied you in the intro to your big school paper. A little weird.
Wow.
Yeah, because that's anecdotal, isn't it? That would not be.
You wouldn't even. You're technically not even allowed to do that on social media if you're accusing people of things. If I've heard that right, so if somebody's saying, so and so beat me up the other day. Technically, you're not meant to name them unless they've actually like been convicted of beating you up or something, and then you've had permission to name them. Like, because I don't know if it's the same over there. Over here, you can get done for defamation for that sort of shit.
So somebody asked, is it a how-to guide?
It might as well be, I guess. I mean, she's the expert on it, so it's
Wait, who wrote this?
Carlin Borisenko.
Oh, our little friend.
Yes.
Yeah, I did think so.
But yeah, the whole intro it's kind of like it just seems so bizarre. It's like she's writing the foreword to a book, or like she's giving an award speech or something. First, I want to thank blah 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 blah, and then she goes, I want to thank the kittens. You know who you are. Like, what? This is a dissertation. This isn't like.
Yeah, when I only did a master's, degree in a master's, and in my dissertations, we weren't allowed to put anything like that in it. You know, it had to be it was quite strict as to how you had to format it and write it. And
you have a master's in education?
No, I've got a
cherry picking.
I've got a master's in English literature.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Yeah, I did a degree in illustration, so more like what Birdie probably has done in the past. And then I did a master's in English literature.
He minored in
I never went to any higher education.
You're a real artist. You didn't go to school for it. Yeah.
No, I did. I went to college for about 3 weeks to do art. And they kept telling me to write essays and stuff. And I was just like, oh, fuck off. I want to paint some pictures. They told me that we were going to do like... Sorry, I'm going off on one. They said we were going to do like this a whole term of doing all of our background work and research for a painting, but you're not allowed to do the painting. And I just went, oh, God.
That sounds like Harry Potter, doesn't it? The theoretical magic and not being able to do any of the real magic.
I've never read Harry Potter, and I've never seen it either. Sorry.
I think you should now because of J.K. Rowling. I think you should.
I know. I should because she follows me on Twitter, and I felt a little bit guilty. Yeah, she followed. Wow. I didn't even know. My fella noticed it before I did, and then I was like, "Oh shit! I should read her books." Really.
J.K. is watching this now, and she's just unfollowed you.
And she's going on Twitter. Birdie's knitting is shit. Don't know why I follow her. And I think I've broken it a little bit. One of the things came undone. Look.
Oh.
Oh dear.
Have you actually
been trying
for
ages?
Yeah, I wouldn't bother trying anymore. I think you need some.
I'm determined.
One-on-one tuition there.
I'm an art school dropout too, by the way. My final straw was math. It's like I'm not. I mean. The beginning of the semester, you hand me this giant freaking packet of like equations and math and stuff. And part of the reason I went to art school is so that I wouldn't have to freaking do math. Like what?
Yes. See, yeah, because they did the same to me. Because in college, I'm so sorry, I'm interrupting again. I got really excited.
No,
I was in college, and initially they wouldn't let me do the art course because I failed maths in GCSE in secondary school. So I basically begged them to let me do the art, and they let me do it on the condition that I redo my maths. And so it might be a bit more than 3 weeks. I think I might have been there like 6 weeks or 8 weeks because I managed to do a fast track to redoing my maths GCSE, and I failed it again. And one of the teachers pulled me aside and said, I'm pretty much like the way I'm failing it, because she was in my secondary school as well and she was in the college, so she knew me. She said, the way I'm failing the maths, it looks like I've got like dyslexia, but for maths. And I kind of it was just another thing where in my head I went, oh fuck off, can't be bothered with this. Too much. Like I just can't. I just want to paint and that's it. And,
everything else is relevant.
Yeah, funny enough though, because I've been an artist for like over 10 years now, and all the people I went to school and college with, a lot of them went on to like prestigious art schools. And I bumped into one of them in the pub, like probably about 5 years ago, before I got cancelled, before everyone hated me. And she was like asking me how to sell paintings. And I just thought, didn't you learn that in uni? Did you not learn that in college? Did they not tell you how to do this shit? Because really all you have to do is make stuff show it to people. That's it. That's all you have to do.
Especially now in the age of the internet, it's so freaking easy.
Well, what I found, what I learned doing illustration was, I was probably the only one that paid my own way through university. I had to have a job. I worked every evening. So all my friends at university were all very posh, and mummy and daddy paid for everything. And it used to drive me mad that they were given more money by their parents than I actually earned by working every night. But what I learned from that is almost with everything in life is it's about who you know. And some of the worst in those years that I was at university have become quite, not well known, but have been successful painters. But it's because their father, who was a banker in London, paid for them to have an exhibition somewhere and then invited everybody that they knew. One of them lived next door to the guy who played Gandalf. I've forgotten his name now. The actor that played Gandalf. He went to their opening exhibition, you know. So it's a lot about that. If you're, you know, if you're a northern oik with no contacts, you don't get anywhere.
I was like a little bit of a reverse snob because my art teacher in secondary school said that I should apply for an art school, and I didn't want to, and I didn't admit why. But the reason was because I was scared of being around posh people. And I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder about it. I was like, why should I be around all these people with money who are looking down on me and all this? But if I could turn the clock back, I probably would go just for that, what you said, it's who you know. And I would get that chip off my shoulder as quick as possible because it ain't worth it. Like, I've met a lot of people in my adult life that have got, whether they've come into money later on or whether they were born into it. And it, to me, it's like I've been treated nice and I've been treated horrible by all different sorts of people. So I should have got that chip off my shoulder, but I don't regret not going to university because I think I might have come into contact with all this ideological shit that's going on. So I'm quite pleased about that. And I managed to do what I want to do. I was going to say as well, like the quickest way, if you're not going to go to university and make all these amazing network contacts, the other way you can sort of kickstart your art career is to get cancelled. Just say something that will piss someone off.
I've been doing that all my life.
Or preempt it and call yourself famous.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's genius.
Well, actually, that was actually somebody who was a famous musician. He's kind of like he was famous in the 90s, but he's a friend of ours. And it was his idea to call himself the Famous Artist Birdy Rose. This was years and years ago, probably about 6 or 7 years ago, before all this stuff really seeped into our culture. But effectively what he told me is that if I self-ID, he didn't say it in those words, but he said if I call myself the Famous Artist Birdy Rose, people will think I'm a famous artist, and then that's how it will happen. And that's been really funny to see the reaction to people with that title, actually.
Well, isn't that one of the things that a lot of these life coaches tell you to do, is to act as if
Probably.
you're already what you want to be? You know,
well,
so
this is the thing. I still do take life advice from him, but this is a guy who was in a famous band in the 90s. He's a really interesting guy, but he was my favourite thing about him is that he accidentally joined a fake martial arts cult for a while, and that's one of my favourite things. I might do a podcast episode with him on it and get him to tell me that story.
Can you say who he is?
I can tell you. I'll tell you afterwards, because what it is
okay.
A lot of the scene we've come from, they don't like me, and I don't want him to get grief. But even though it's pretty clear that he hasn't abandoned us, he hasn't denounced us, but he also hasn't gone, "Hey, Birdie's my best friend." We've just sort of kept it pretty civil. And
so, are your haters going to be watching us as well tonight? Because I know
probably
there's at least 2
Probably
haters
not.
that are going to
I
be
think
watching
they've
us
lost
tonight.
a bit. I think they've lost a bit of wind. They've been stalking me for about 3 years now, and I think the more I do stuff like this, the less they can be bothered to listen to me. So that's even better. Just talk more. They can't be asked with it.
Oh.
Ooh.
What was that? Was that here?
No, I think that was from me. Sorry.
Was it the dog? What was it?
No, it's car outside.
Have we lost Lynne?
We've lost a couple of people now. It's just what happens in
We're being
knitting
picked
clubs.
off one by one, aren't we?
Oh no!
One of us is a murderer in this room. Oh, how you
No,
doing,
that's
Birdie?
not real, is it? Right. Well.
Did you thought I was being serious?
So this bit came untangled a bit, as you can see here. I tried to push it back on, and then I keep putting this in there like that, and then I put this over it like that. No, like that, and then oh no.
You almost
Been doing that over and over again for ages. I even looked at what you did, so I'm trying to figure out how you did that.
And somebody asked, are you still homeless?
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's all right though.
You're a person experiencing homelessness, as they say now.
Ah. Well, I mean, part of my homelessness is a choice that I haven't actively looked for a home yet. So,
So are you still on holiday, or wherever you was before? Where was you? Went somewhere.
I was in Romania, and
That's
then
the
I
one.
was briefly back home, and now I'm with a friend in Pittsburgh. So yeah.
Ah. How far away is Pittsburgh from where you were?
Let's see. It's probably about a 16-hour drive.
Oh wow.
Thereabouts. That's just basic math in my head, but yeah. So quite a
Who
bit.
does math in their head?
Crazy.
Yeah, I can't do maths.
You can do maths, and you shouldn't
No, I
say
can't.
you can't.
I
You
don't
know more maths than you
understand.
realise.
I don't understand quantities, spaces, amounts. I still count on my fingers. Anything past 10 I can't do.
So can you?
Well, I can a little bit. I'm a bit lazy with maths as well.
So when somebody pays for something, do you know if they've given you enough money?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
But you go. I just guess how much I think it should be, and then if it's not enough, I just put the price up a little bit. I'm really, really bad at business.
Good plan.
And you know, I don't know if you know this because I haven't been doing it lately, but I've been doing these like A4 paintings for years, and I basically sell them, and I put them up by £1 every time it's a new one. So the next one will be £1 more than the last one, and I just keep doing it until I get to like £1 million. It's going to take me forever, honestly. I'm up to about £94 or something. So
put it up even more. You should, because I think in the art world, if you put it up for £94,000, somebody would probably buy it, whereas somebody might not buy it for £94.
But the next one will be £94,001, and that's how it's got to go.
And how are you going to give them change? Oh.
Are you
I don't think I would.
Are you all out of stickers, Birdie?
No, I'm not out of stickers. I've got loads of stickers. Oh, I should have brought them up here so I can show you. I've got bloody loads downstairs.
Oh, because I'm looking on your website.
Some of them are out, and some of them say they're out when they're not as well. I need to have a look at that.
Yeah, would you please?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll send you a photo of what stickers I've got. Actually, I think might have a photo on my phone. Stickers. Yeah, I keep forgetting to go out stickering as well.
And
I've done it a few times.
How are you at planting trees, Anne?
I'm sure I've planted a tree. I don't know if
That's a
I don't
random
have
question.
experience anyways.
Somebody wants to know in the chat.
Hang on.
Oh, we got a bot.
Oh, yay. Thank you.
They heard about the yarn and Hey Jay's boobs.
I guess so.
I'm excited. Yes, Jean in the chat says that Birdie needs to identify as an excellent knitter, and that's how it will work.
Those are the stickers I have left. I don't know if you can see them.
I can see, yes. Okay.
The women don't have Willie's one. It's very popular.
I think that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, guys, we are past 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and I still haven't done a knit. Look at it.
That's all right.
Don't worry, we'll sort that out.
Yeah.
We'll make you a great knitter.
Can I just
A famous one.
I just really quick want to address something from last week. We had that Flowers Against Effery in the chat, right? We all thought it was Carlin. So me and Mikey were discussing this. It turns out it's actually one of Mikey's stalkers, who then apparently latched on to me. And then, but we're not convinced that him and Carlin aren't in cahoots, because the language was, the person had been in somebody else's chat like a couple nights earlier, and then somebody else's chat, and like whoever's doing it is like totally making the rounds, and the language changes. Like it's a different person. So we're not sure what the hell's going on. I don't know if this guy has now been like, oh shit, well, they're on to me, so I'm going to change the name or whatever. But yeah, so that was really freaking weird.
Well, since the last one as well, I've suddenly got a new patron called Karlin Borisenko.
Attorney at LOL.
Yes, that's it. Attorney at LOL. So I have no idea who that is. I don't know whether it's just a joke or whether it's her or whether it's somebody else. I don't know.
Kind of the back and forth of like, is it her proper, or is it just someone who acts like her? And if it quacks like a duck, then really, what are we doing here?
Well, whoever it is, they're paying. So
hey,
I'll take anybody's money.
I don't think she can laugh at herself like that. So I don't think she would have attorney at LOL. I mean, she's not, you know,
Yeah, because that's She-Hulk, isn't it? That's where that's the joke, isn't it? It's She-Hulk, isn't it?
She-Hulk?
Yeah, She-Hulk attorney at law. It's the Hulk's cousin is a woman in the comics called She-Hulk, and she's a lawyer. And so imagine a female Hulk in the courtroom. And so her comic and the new film that is going to be made is going to be called She-Hulk Attorney at Law. So I think that's where it comes from.
Gotcha. Okay, well, whoever came up with that is very clever.
So
do you think that if your little friend, if she just sort of like stopped doing drama and just focused on what she was talking about when I watched her a few years ago, which is just like how mental things are being in schools and stuff like that, do you think people would forgive her, or do you think she's pissed enough people off at this point?
Well, I do have a lot to say on that, actually, and I'll keep it short because I know we're going like way over 2 hours here. But
yeah, sorry.
No, it's all good. Okay, well, first of all, she's burned like every bridge ever.
Okay.
But also, she doesn't really know what she's talking about. If you look at any interactions on her page, she doesn't answer people who ask her questions. She won't give a good definition of woke. She'll be like, oh, buy my book, join my locals or whatever. She just kind of parrots stuff that other people say. She argues with people constantly who try to say, well, I don't think this definition is right, or don't you think this would be a better tactic or whatever. She's just extremely combative and just argues with everybody at this point. So I'm starting to think she's doing a lot more harm than good in the so-called anti-woke space. She's also a lot more woke than people give her credit for, judging by the tactics that she uses on people like Carrie, where, you know, oh, what would your pastor think if blah, 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 you know, like the whole guilt by association thing. So
I think that happens though when people come from the left and they fight something, like you see it sometimes in feminist circles. So they'll come from the left, but they're fighting the gender identity thing, but they still engage in purity spirals, guilt by association, cancellation, and things like that, because I think they don't recognize it as the same behavior.
Old habits die
if
hard.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, well, as Tabitha said in chat, her actions aren't done in good faith, but also I don't know that she wants to, you know, fight the woke as much as she loves the drama and making it all about her. That it's kind of the grift is real. in her
But
case.
do the woke just ignore her? Because I never see her arguing with anybody who's classed as woke. I only ever see her arguing with people who aren't woke.
But then you could say after a certain amount, people like that do ignore you. Like the people, there's not a lot of trans rights activists give me shit anymore. They don't even argue with me too much anymore. But that might be because I've blocked them all. It might be that. But also because there's no way you can really go with it with me because I don't really engage in an argument with them because I've got knitting to do, things to do. But yeah, do you think like if a woke person tried to have a row with her, would she engage, or would she?
She just blocks everybody. Blockity block, block, block.
That's what I do. Blockity block, block.
Block, block.
And I run Block Magazine. And I never block anyone.
Somebody's asking about our YouTube channels.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have Chicken Lady Fiber Arts on YouTube, but I don't think I've ever posted a video. I need to start doing that, maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm Awenydd Yarn and Fiber.
Yeah, mine's Blocked Magazine on YouTube.
I'm the Famous Artist Birdy Rose on YouTube.
Yep. And I'm on the current channel, Politically Incorrect Knitters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which Chicken Lady Fiber Arts sponsors.
Yes. Our favorite sponsor, Chicken Lady Fiber Arts, is with us today.
Yay.
On her own website, chickenladyfiberarts.com.
Murder Knits has a YouTube's also.
She just lost.
Yeah, she just.
Does she do? Let me guess what Murder Knits does. Okay, so she does knitting.
Yes.
And while she's knitting, she tells you murder stories.
Well, she talks about the. She watches murder shows like documentaries, and then she discusses them. Like she loves true crime shows. So
I
she
need to watch her channel.
I know. So
I think I would like that.
So she'll talk a little bit about knitting, and then she'll talk a lot about, the latest the latest murder story that she wrote. And then, if sometimes she lives close to the town, sometimes she'll talk about, she remembers when it happened. Yeah. She doesn't kill people with knitting needles. No, Katie.
That is very good to know.
Yes. Yes.
I shouldn't be doing all this with the knitting needles, waving them around. I just don't know how I'm going to do this. It feels impossible.
Well, it's impossible when you're trying to do it on your own with no guidance.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we'll help you. We'll get it sorted.
Thank you. That would be great because I'd love to be the famous knitter Birdy Rose.
Yes. You will be someday soon.
Here, Tabitha says that she has not been convicted of murder to date.
Excellent.
She just hasn't been caught yet.
Exactly. You don't know what she does in her free time.
And not confirm or deny any stabbing with knitting needles.
Can you imagine if there was a serial killer amongst the knitters? Who do you think is the most likely to be a serial killer?
Anyway, friend. Go now, bye.
Do you think they'd be woke or non-woke?
Oh, woke all the way, totally. Because they would have to have the facade of like, I am so virtuous and just, and look at me, and social justice for everybody, and Black Lives Matter, and all lives matter. Well, we can't say all lives matter, that's racist. But anyway, lives matter, trans lives matter, rights matter, this matters. And then meanwhile, they're like,
I think there's a good story to be written with that.
I do know.
Somebody should make a...
Who was a knitter, and she got acquitted. She did kill somebody.
What?
Wow.
What, for real? Really?
Yeah, for real. She was acquitted.
Wasn't me.
What, because she's a knitter?
Not because she's a knitter, no. Happened in a different town, but now she lives here. Yeah.
Blimey.
I know.
Wow.
I was going to say, that's like quite a big, like, no wonder so many people are knitting. Wow.
To get off with murder. Wow.
Yeah.
Like, but I knew, so I'm nice.
Yeah, she blew him away on her front lawn. Something to do with dogs barking and Yeah, and the neighbor got onto her property and she killed him. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's when is that like one of those situations where the neighbors drive each other crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a real thing.
And the lady that I'm thinking of that did this, she is very woke. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is she?
There you go.
Is she like?
Don't live next to a woke knitter. Not worth it.
Is she online or is she?
I don't think so. No.
Ah, that's lucky then, isn't it?
She's an older lady. She moved here because her son lives here. Yeah.
Oh, Sandra's asked, "Am I interviewing Birdy tonight?" No, but I think we should at some point. Do you want to come on?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, talk to me about it because this is doing my head in now. I don't understand it. I want to. I keep getting into this knot and then I don't know where to go.
Right.
So
we will.
we'll sort it out.
Try and do it this week.
Hey, Anne, can you highlight that one?
I can.
I talked about you earlier.
Yeah.
And by the way, you're getting another gift card. Somebody else sent one to you.
Spoiler alert.
You win.
So good.
Yeah.
It's so funny how everybody says, all the woke people are like, oh, they're so awful. Oh, those awful people. They're just awful. We're all so awful. And people are, handing out gift cards willy-nilly left and right.
Well, I mean, they've got a point. I mean, look, Mr. in prison for stealing cherries over there. So
a phantom cherry picker.
Oh, God. I can't believe I associate with you people. God, what am I doing with my life? This is bad for business, man. Convicted felons. I can't even. I hereby renounce any association with the politically incorrect knitters and I quit.
Hey, I'm not the criminal here.
What?
I have never been to the big house. Ever. Canada or otherwise.
Man, I get a panic attack sometimes thinking like, okay, because I know a lot of people who've been in prison and, like I've heard stories and shit. And I'm like, they don't really let you knit in prison, do they? Like you can't have knitting needles in prison. What the hell?
Well, if they do some of them do programs, don't they, where woke knitters come in and teach them. But you can imagine how I listened to an audio podcast and the woman that does it, I could just imagine that she's a bit of a nasty piece of work because the first thing she said to all these criminals in the room was, if any of you steal from me, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, that isn't going to make them like you. You don't want to be antagonizing them.
Like, oh, good. I like them on
dominance.
Oh, sorry, one at a time. I couldn't hear what you were saying that.
You have to establish dominance. You're in a room with a bunch of hardened criminals, and you look at you like, oh, look at the little old lady who knits, and it's like, no, motherfuckers, eyes on me. This is how it's gonna be. All right, you steal from me, I chop your nuts off. All right.
Do you ever watch Faith and Knitting, that podcast?
Oh, is it a black lady?
Yes.
Yes, I have watched a couple.
Her name's Rhonda, and she, I believe, I don't know if this is correct, but I believe she is a minister for the prison that she lives near. I don't know if she teaches knitting though. That would be interesting to ask her. Yeah,
it's a brilliant thing that because we all know, don't we, how much Birdy's not seeing it at the moment, but how it relaxes you and keeps you calm. Honestly, Birdy, honestly, it does. So it would be the perfect thing.
It will one day, definitely. I'll get there one day. I'm still struggling with this bit.
Yes, you will.
So next time, Neil, I demand a salacious story about Marmite.
If
we're going to be simpering dolts, it better be for a good reason.
Oh, yes. Do you know that, Anne? You were called a simpering dolt.
I saw
you
that.
Were? That's what I call King Charles III now.
A simpering dolt.
Yeah, a simpering dolt. Well, that's how he's always.
Well, I found out something about Charlie the other day that bothered me quite a lot, that he was one of the main players behind the Build Back Better thing.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, great. You know, I just don't know what that's going to bring to us. You know what I mean? And
What was that?
Sorry, what's that?
It rings a bell. What was the Build Back Better?
Oh, it's the new, it's the World Economic Forum where they want us to have we're not going to own anything. We're going to be happy. We're going to have no privacy. We're not going to have cars or houses.
Like one big prison.
Yep, exactly. We're not going to be able to travel anywhere. We're all going to have electric cars that will only drive for 30 minutes before they cut our power off.
Yeah, I remember this now. I think I tried to block it out of my mind so that I've got room for nice things.
Well, it's all going to happen by 2030, apparently. So
I do like that.
Not if I've got something to do with it.
He does a lot with the campaign for wool.
He does.
He does does kind of finance that. I like that.
Well, he might not do that so much now because that will probably have been passed on to William because that would have been part of his.
Or to the dogs.
Yeah, he was the Duke of Cornwall, so he owned the Duchy of Cornwall, which made him one of the richest men in the country. And now that he's king, he can't have that anymore, and that has to go to William, who will be is the next Prince of Wales, and he will also now be the Duke of Cornwall eventually. I don't know at what point. So part of that is that he has to promote certain goods that are created in Cornwall and places like that, and wool will be one of those things. So there's a reason for it. He's not just a nice person. It was about making money, you know. Like we all do, I suppose.
Right. Okay.
So in the comments, no heat, knit wool clothes.
Yes.
And Therese says, knit 2 sweaters, everyone. Yeah, join the challenge. You'll need to.
Oh, can you just show Jean's as well? Jean Ellis.
Okay.
You have beautiful yarn, Birdie. Where did Neil get it? Aldi. True story.
Did you really?
Nice.
It's really pretty. I love it.
Very pretty. Guys,
nobody has ever told. Sorry.
That's right.
Going on 3 hours.
I interrupted you, Birdie. What did you say?
I was going to say, nobody's ever told me that I've got nice yarn before. Beautiful yarn.
First time for everything.
All right. But with that, 2.5 hours, far too long for such, a lovely conversation.
No such thing.
Or whatever. I don't know.
We always go to some weird places, don't we? We never quite stick on track.
That's the problem with a live show. You just got to roll with it after a while. You're like, Anyways, thank you all for joining us today. And not those who are watching, as well as our lovely panel. And we already kind of went around and said where to find us, but do find us. And we will see you next time.
Thank you, everybody.
See you later.
Mwah.
Bye.